Sounds
Motion
great.
to.
This is Chair McBride. I'm calling the Property Reviews Committee to order. It is 5:34 on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023.
I'd like to make a motion to elect Scott Westervelt as pro temp for
Unfortunately, I'm
this
not
meeting.
able to chair this meeting, so we have discussed.
Dave, you're breaking up quite a bit. Sounds quite robotic. Sorry.
Portia, you broke out?
You broke up. It's you. I'm assuming you're on the road.
All right, a motion has been made.
The
Seconded.
motion
A motion has been
seconded
made by Councilor Bordelon.
third time.
Yes, a motion has been made by Councilor Bordelon. The motion has been seconded. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 All in favor of the motion? Say aye.
We've had the motion and
Mr.
we've had the
Westervelt, you're now
vote.
chair. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So as chair, I will do the roll call. We have in attendance, Councilor Bordelon, Councilor McBride, Al Zad, Larry Dunn, Bob Frank, and Lauren Gauthier, and myself as chairman, Scott Westervelt, Councilor Westervelt. Does anyone have anything for public comments?
Do you, how many attendees do we have?
We have Ian Thomas over in the attendee section. Do
We have one attendee, Ian Thomas. Thank you.
you want to allow him to talk?
Wait one. Ian Thomas, I see that your hand is raised. This is the public comments. Feel free, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, well, I did send in some comments on the document, and I would like to participate, if possible, in the deliberations on the edits. Offer my services as an English major and someone who's been tracking the process closely.
Does anyone have any objections to Ian Thomas assisting us with edits?
More the merrier.
Anyone else?
I'm fine with it. I think as we move to the document, we've allowed others to speak freely. I think that's fair.
All right. So Ian, thank you very much for volunteering to help us out. Any other comments?
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else have any public comments? Anything they've received? Anything they'd like to talk about?
There's stuff I'd like to talk about, but I haven't received communication.
Okay. Well, that's under public comments, so let's do communications then. And we can start with,
I have no communication.
oh.
I just have stuff I want to talk about.
Oh,
Like
Hey.
communicate with folks.
under communications, we have comments submitted by the town manager, Bert, on the draft of the document. Does anybody need me to read those into the record or? Actually, for the,
They don't need to be read into the record because they're part of the record.
Yeah.
They're in the agenda.
They were shipped out in the agenda.
okay,
Did
I
my
wasn't sure if you-
comments make it to the agenda?
I
My
didn't see yours
edits.
at all.
I did
you
send
email
it to, yeah, I emailed them to town manager Bert and to McBride, asked them for them to be dispersed.
This is McBride. I forwarded that to Lisa, but I think it was at 4:30. I'm not sure who sent it. I did see an email where she forwarded some comments to the entire council. So I'm not sure if there was some confusion, but I forwarded it to her, but I did not see it on the agenda as well.
I'm just looking through the package now, just to make sure it's not in here. I do see some other comments.
David, is there any way you could forward those out to just the counselors here so we can have them as we discuss them?
Yes, I can do that. Give me about 5 minutes, please.
Thank you.
It will be impossible for me to read them on my phone, so I will
Open up this.
If you guys are reviewing any, are we talking about town? I guess I just want to see how we're doing this. Are we starting with the town manager's comments first? Is that what we're doing, or?
That's what we were, that's where I had left off, whether we needed to read it
Perfect.
into the record. We do not.
If we're gonna review them, can you just project them on the screen then?
One moment, please.
Might I make a suggestion? Because we kind of started to do this last meeting and it seemed very disorganized, in my opinion. I think instead of trying to adjudicate each document separately and losing threads of thought as we jump from document to document, if all of us are versed on what's been submitted, unfortunately, it doesn't include Portia's, but as far as the town manager and staff, or town manager, town attorney, staff, Ian's comments, if we could collectively go as a topic as opposed to document to document to document, I just think that that would be better. For instance, I agree, we'll go with, 0.5 on the first page or whatever. I'll say, the town manager said this, the attorney said this. I agree with town manager. I don't agree with the attorney, whatever. That way it's not adjudicate an entire document and then start press again and adjudicate instead of comments, adjudicate another set of comments. I feel like that'd be a lot of time spent. I feel like we'd get lost and confused and maybe backtrack a decision made on one document when a new one comes in. I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts.
By document, what you're talking about is
Comments, yes.
I don't know, I think we need to reject the town manager's comments separately. Those are fairly overarching and at a high level. And, if you're buying into those, that's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah.
You
We gotta hit the big philosophical points first,
Sure, of course.
and then we can worry about the nitty gritty.
Okay.
This is,
Okay.
yeah,
I can agree that we need to, we need to be diligent on it. But also, these comments are coming at the 11th hour. And we've been working on this, as it was stated many times, for 9 months. So, and then we were given 2 months to execute this after we've been at it for 9 months with nobody giving us anything, but a few select folks. So yes, I agree. We should go through each one in a manner that's appropriate. It also might seem, if there's any discrepancies where we don't agree, that in that section, we add all the comments in the draft and just kind of parcel them out by slanting them or coloration. I think it's important to not lose, comments. If we don't agree with them, then we just kind of pass on and leave all comments on the table. I'm hoping that Councilor McBride, when he has the minute, will be able to send mine over. If you're able to project mine, since no one's had a chance to read them when we go to them, or at least allow people to have a chance to read each comment, and I'll try to make sure if I have any changes on my document, I have it in front of me. I will, read what I have if I have to.
David, I see your hand is raised. Would you like to address that?
Yes, thank you. I just want to let everyone know I did try to incorporate all the comments that, not that I was in agreement, or I'm just saying I incorporated all the comments that I had received to date, with the exception of Portia's and Ian's, which came in yesterday. So all those are embedded in that draft document. So most of them are there. So I think they're major points you do have to focus on to make sure agree or disagree and put what you want in, but just want to make sure those comments have all been embedded in that current draft document, with the exception of Portia's and Ian. So just want to let everybody know that. But I'm stopped now. I'm going to forward Portia's comments to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, so the document you're talking about is the one that is highlighted in yellow?
The one highlighted in yellow is Town Manager Burt's. There should be
Okay.
one draft document. It's like 3 pages of what we put together. I've incorporated Burt's and Reiner's and the attorney's comments in there as best I could. That's the one current draft of the proposal with the RFP process at the second piece.
I believe the one that Councilor McBride is speaking of, if I'm got it in front of me correctly, is dated 4/16/2023. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
That's the one towards the back of the
green.
Yeah, that's kind of the current draft. What I did is I tried to take all comments from everybody and put them in that one document. So I would encourage you maybe to use that as the starting point and then make changes to that as whatever, because I tried to incorporate everybody's comments with the exception of Ian and Portia.
And I'm sorry, what was the date on that one?
I think it was April 16th or maybe 17th. It should be noted in the title.
Yeah, it's up there. 416, it's in any.
Oh, the-
Two.
Yeah, it says 4/16/2023 town-owned property use evaluation policy and process. And then it goes right into purpose, goals, decisions, and it has no coloration on it at all.
I'm on that page now.
And then mine, when it comes over, is in a bluish teal. And I think it looks like in the packet that I've received, Ian's is already made it into the packet, but not into the draft that we're reviewing now.
That's correct.
Mine is
Okay,
not
now-
in the document, or my comments did not make it into the agenda either. But Ian's is
Correct.
in the agenda and were able to be reviewed.
Okay, and how will I be able to project this up on the screen?
Gotta join the Zoom conference.
Say again?
You have to join the Zoom conference.
Oh, well, I can't on this machine.
Oh,
You can?
send it to me. I could do.
I'm opening it now.
Do you have it, Lauren?
Yep.
You'll have to excuse me because I am new at this part. Can you tell?
Let me turn this.
So I want to share the screen and let you have it.
Yeah, so you have to give me access. So do you see the three, hover over my name, and up there, the three dots, and one of those should make co-host. And that'll give me the ability to present. I am muted. But you can hear mine. There you go. All right, so I should be able to share screen. I don't have Counselor Bordelon's comments yet to project, but I can start with the what do you call it, agenda. First page here. Page are we on? Where would you like me to be? Since I don't have Counselor Bordelon's comments in my inbox yet.
So we've already discussed that the town manager's comment or
Yep.
the letter from the town manager is there. The next would be
Would be from
the attorney.
416. So page 42.
Page,
61B. is the, agenda.
61B,
6.1.B revised
Yep.
down, that's this.
town-owned property document as of April 16th. And that starts there.
That's it.
So this would be.
right,
Okay, so with all of the highlights. Right?
and
61A is the original town-owned property document. I don't know if we need to review that. do we?
no. So we'll move on with 61B revised town owned property document as of April 16th.
That's this one.
Okay.
Right?
It's in the back. You gotta go. Base.
Right, it's on page 42.
42 of the packet.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Well, the first major philosophical point is point one, decision.
So we're skipping the town manager comments for now.
Well, they're kind of included in this version of it. Now, if he was justifying the text that's in here.
All right. Okay.
So this
Yeah.
document is the one created by
Fair enough.
David as of 4/16.
Right.
This is the one where David incorporated everything,
Including the town manager's comments.
including
Yeah,
town manager's
yeah.
comment.
Right.
Mine's after.
So
Okay, so so if you go through it step by step, I have mine in front of me. David McBride is emailing you it. I can verbally read mine to you and add my corrections, and then David could add them later.
I just emailed the committee your comments, Portia. Everybody should have it.
Thank you. So you have mine and Ian's now.
And I apologize, I have to jump off, everyone. Appreciate
No.
everything. Take care.
He's out at 5:49.
The record
For your
note,
record keeping,
Counselor McBride exited the meeting at 5:49.
Portia, where would you like to start on your comments?
I'm looking here. Is there any edits from purpose through goals thus far?
Actually, move it.
I thought the managers and everyone else's comments were in a color coded. I don't see anything there. Is that correct?
They are not color coded in this.
No, the one that's on the screen right now is what David McBride put together.
Right. I guess I misunderstood. I thought when he put it together, he differentiated to know who put what there.
No, unfortunately.
Okay, so that's going to be so when looking at this document, it's going to be very hard to understand what's been new from our original draft and what is not.
We can agree with it or not, so
Yeah.
whatever it is,
it is what it is.
we can discuss it. We can discuss it.
Yeah.
Everyone's here, we can discuss it. It's not that way.
Right.
I'm sorry for being late.
Trying to get all my screens to match here.
For the record, note that John Goodrich arrived at 17:51.
So resume
I
share.
would like to just offer an edit that came up because of the town council meeting, and we raised a point that didn't make it anywhere. It should be addressed. I agree with this. Sorry to interrupt.
Say it.
So are we starting from the top of the page?
Yes,
So with purpose, we are starting with purpose A. Is this where you want to add your comment?
the other goals.
Okay.
And it's just not changing any of the goals.
Okay.
Not even suggesting that. I think we're good with them. It's just that stuff was raised that if the goals were to do all of these things. And very often the goal isn't to do all of these things. It was made sense to not try to do everything. So when you get to number 4, 1 through 3 is fine. Number 4 would be then to balance the desire to, and then it would be the rest of those things. Because number 4, 5, 6 was now 4, 5, 6, and 7. Because that may apply, it may not apply. You just need to balance those things. That would address the concern of the council.
Okay. Maybe just for my own benefit, I'm not sure. Did we close the conversation on purpose, or Portia, did you have any changes to the purpose paragraph?
To the purpose paragraph, all I saw was just getting rid of the comma after town-owned property, but that's not high level right now. We can worry about that later. And the
Okay.
word shall should be added in there. Yeah, I can worry about that. It's grammatical. We can worry about that later.
What I'll say about the word shall, because I noticed it was added quite a bit in Ian's edits. Shall, I believe, would get a little dicey unless I'm misunderstanding the process. That's like required.
Required.
Right.
Fine, I understand that, but is this going to be a town policy or ordinance in the same way others are, and you guys have to go through that whole like vetting? You know what I mean? With other policies, you have to go through several rounds of like voting and in meetings, correct? That's the intent here.
Believe that it is, yes.
Good with
I
it
have
then.
no idea. I have no idea. I mean, it seems to change often, so I'm unsure.
If I could interject real quick on that, since those are my edits.
Mm.
It was my belief that this was supposed to be a very firm document moving forward. So that's why I did that.
Mhm.
I understand, to some extent, I understand the legal ramifications and requirements that come with the word shall. And I thought that the idea initially when this process was started was the idea of coming up with something that was very firm and inflexible as far as like holding town staff and everybody to a firm process.
Totally happy with it. Just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page.
I completely agree.
Awesome.
Completely.
I think we all agree.
Yeah. Shall unless it's will, which means something different.
Just on the goals, it's my expectation that as properties are reviewed and recommendations are made, that those recommendations will be, let's say, scored against these goals. You know, how many of these goals do you meet and how do you meet them? Is that the purpose of these? That, to me, that's the purpose of these goals.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
when you're writing the RFP, you want to write to the goals, right? You want to keep the goals in
well,
mind when
no,
writing it.
when you're considering the reuse of the property, first off,
Mhm.
right? What are the best ways? And people come in with different ideas, different
Mhm.
suggestions. So they should know that this is the scoring they need to match up to. Okay, this is how you get your proposal through. Is how do you meet these goals?
When you say proposal, do you mean,
Your idea for your reuse of the property.
so you're talking about developers proposing on a property, you're not talking about discussions in a TOP meeting?
Yeah, I'm talking about the total.
Well,
Okay.
there's both
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
We get it two ways. One,
Right.
a developer suggests something, one, we have nothing.
That's
We
what
just-
this is. This is town-owned property reuse evaluation. So this isn't developers yet.
Okay, yeah,
So if I'm bringing something to the TOP, this is what I've got to meet. These are the rules or the conditions or goals, right?
okay. I think my misunderstanding is you're talking about someone bringing a specific project idea as opposed to just, hey, what are we doing with this parcel over here? What could we do with it?
Yeah, a
What community
specific
want?
idea. It might be
Okay.
well thought out, it might not be.
Okay,
You know, might have a lot of detail, it might not.
right.
But these are the metrics you
Keep in
measure
mind.
the ideas against to how's one better than the other. Right? That's the purpose of the goal.
I don't know if you'll come up with a numerical.
Yeah,
score.
I don't think you could do that up front generically. I mean, what we're trying to do is basically process is to balance the following goals to get the best outcome for that property. Now, you know, I don't know how to I don't know how to put down ahead of time whether we think that the grand list enhancements is 90% and everything else 10%.
This is the proposer's job.
That-
Who's ever proposing it would have to make the case based on these goals.
Yeah, but I don't know how to do, I'm saying that there's ahead of time, you don't put a criteria in that, you put a criteria afterwards when we've recommended a certain purpose. Then in the RFP, we can then provide criterias which would then be
But this
scored.
doesn't have anything to do with an RFP. The recommendation may be to make it a park, to make it no development, no anything. And why so? Because it meets so many of these goals.
Maybe the issue is the word score,
Yeah, I
So,
don't think we
as
can
a-
score this.
right? So instead of calling it a score, just, you're saying this is what's to be kept in mind, right?
When
Part of the value, we need to
I'm
get.
talking about what's going to be used by the TILB committee to measure one
The
proposal.
metrics,
against another.
right?
The
So it's not a score, it's a metric.
Yeah, to measure one proposal against another.
Right, I think, well, and maybe again, this is what's tripping me up is the idea that the TOP is going to be entertaining specific proposals, which of course we know is going to happen. But I understand the majority of the TOP process to just be, hey, this has kind of been sitting here, what do we think about it? As opposed to people coming in, hey, I want to do this right here, which I know both could happen,
Oh, yeah,
both will definitely
No.
happen.
for sure.
Honestly, I think that was one of the, I'll say, confusions
Yeah,
council had, which was, no, we just want to sell to schools and we have school, people are coming to us with ideas from the schools.
Right.
On the other hand, got a zillion other little pieces of properties which we should get rid of. Nobody's asking for them per se, but we should have this kind of written up on each one of those things, saying this is the best use for it. Give it to the neighbor because we don't care about anything else, it's some extra tax bucks for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything else. That's the balance that we come up with. I don't know if you, so we've got the two different things. One is to address a proposal, an idea by a developer. I'd say a proposal, an idea by a developer that addresses that. One is there isn't any idea. What are we saying is the best highest use for it? Balancing these needs. I don't know how to put a score on that. I don't write up and just say, we think it's best for these things because I need to address.
Yeah, I mean, it's subjective, right?
Sure.
You know, so I don't know, scoring it's a subjective scoring method. It's not a 1 through 10. You don't get 10 points for this and 8 points for that, 6
Okay.
points for that. It's how well do you meet all these 7 or 6 of them or 5 of them?
Right.
Or one of them.
So the one thing I'll think of is I can foresee someone going, well, this is my idea. And it hits goal number 1, or sorry, it hits goal number 5,
In this-
right? It hit,
and-
yep, so
And tell
this
us
is
how.
my idea. It hits goal number 5 so well, so great. It's the best number 5 idea ever. Ignore all of the others. Are we going to put something on here that says, like, there's no order of precedence? Like,
Right,
you have to, like, if you don't hit 1 and 2,
right.
No,
you know what I mean? Or,
can't.
There's
or
no-
if I hit 1 and 2, I can ignore the rest.
No.
No,
There's no order of precedence.
no order.
So should these goals be bulletized or do they need to be numbered?
Yeah, to that, because I kind of went both ways, because I think that one of the things we don't want to override to begin with is the long-term strategic plan, which is plan of conservation development and zoning. That unless we change those things, it's got to meet those. So we can't say
Irrespective of our process.
irrespective of everything else. So number 1 is, that's number 1. It's got to meet that. Number 2 is just a process thing, make it decision-making inclusive, participatory. It's got to be those things, no matter what.
Okay.
So promote resiliency and sustainability, sure, why not? But then when you get below those, then you say, well, who's this for? What's it doing? Did I start with number 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, start with number 4. Then I'd say, okay, those are automated. This can grow the towns, but this will make us lots of tax money, or it'll just get rid of something we don't need, or it will afford housing. That'll be great, but doesn't do much for anything else. Maybe that's the best possible thing. Those, I agree, are completely unweighted. So maybe those are bullets underneath it. But the first 3 are, everyone needs to look at that.
And I think some of those will change as the town changes over time too.
Oh, those last, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think they gotta be somewhat,
So they change for the town, they change based on the property.
I agree with what you said, but I would rather leave it to the town council, who's gonna make the final decision to weigh these out. If you don't meet the plan of conservation development or zoning, they can throw it out. You know, they will realize that.
Well,
But you could have a terrific idea that violates one of these.
actually, the problem right now, the way it is, without any opinion on anybody's part, if it doesn't meet zoning, you can't do it.
Right.
So you just can't do it. We kind of ran into that.
Zoning never changes.
we ran that.
Until you change zoning,
Pardon?
until you change.
Until you change
zoning.
it.
Yeah, right, but you could have, but when you're with the TOP, you haven't gone for a zoning change yet. You've got a great idea and it requires a zoning change.
Okay.
But so I'm gonna, let's step back. I would say, if it doesn't meet zoning, then why even try and get the zoning changes?
Because it could be every other goal.
Because think of it comes to the oral school, that was valid.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be changed wholesale.
Right.
It should be tweaked. In the
Yeah.
end, they wanted to really change it and zoning didn't, planning and zoning don't want to do that, but we're okay with tweaking it.
Right, okay.
That was valid. So we're right about that.
Yeah, there are definitely, I think, times when it's valid to ask for like a variance. And that, I mean, that would be right in there. With
No, I mean, I
goal-
think variance and zoning, wholesale zoning change are different.
Very different, yeah.
Doesn't change, but you're right, as much as some other.
I don't think it should stop. the
Other
process.
things,
Like,
correct, say, well, yes, this is a good idea, except, and that's a valid comment
Sure.
from the TOP saying, this is a great thing, except, and
Yeah,
it's a big except.
it violates these,
Right.
the OCD zoning, but it's a great idea.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah,
I think I'm stepping back to all the comments that we got from the town council. And what bothered me or frustrated me was that it seemed like this TOP was being spun as like a nuisance, right? As it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to be way too many people. It's going to be confusing, it's going to be prohibitive for developers. And I think that that's part of maybe our branding issue is if I was a prospective developer in town, I personally would appreciate a board that would tell me, hey, have you considered the wetlands issue here? Or we know we have a lot of osprey nests over here. You're going to have to consider that. And knowing what all of my hurdles are going to be right up front, that would at least be helpful to me as a prospective developer.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of the way we need to, we're an advisory committee, right? The TOP advisory committee. We're not making decisions for anyone. We're advising, we're assisting.
in fact, that's kind of why I want to be able to say it to the town manager and say, no, you want to run this thing fine, we are a resource. This will be a tremendous resource from you to shortstop a whole bunch of stuff instead of having to go through this enormous process that will take months and
Well,
months and months.
And I agree with both of you, that's why a lot of the comments I felt were laughable when they said valid things found in development, because developers are businessmen. And that's a businesswoman, that's how they want to know. I'm interested in this, it's gonna cost me this much, this is what I have to watch out for, this is my ROI. So completely agree with both of you, that a real good ethical professional developer will welcome this because they'll know what they're getting into rather than spinning their wheels for a couple years ago. Oh, oops, we couldn't do that anyhow.
Right.
I think it was, they weren't picking up that it was just an advisory process,
Right.
putting together a report for their use.
So that could be a name change. We could throw the word advisory in there. And then I think the other issue, like kind of broad scope, is we've got a lot of different names, a lot of little committees, a lot of little groups, and I think it's confusing people. I saw this even in the town manager's comments. Who owns what their responsibilities are, and what their authorities are. And maybe just coming up with a little like chart that just says name, number of individuals, responsibilities, authorities, right? Because we've got a TOP and we've got a PRUC, and you get into the RFP process, and now you've got an RFP committee and a selection and an evaluation committee. And most of it's the same people, let's be honest, it's a lot of the same people.
A matrix of.
A matrix, yeah.
yeah.
That could be helpful, I think. And maybe there's ones that we can eliminate or consolidate or move around.
There is a matrix that was provided, not in this document, but as a separate document. But I think we could table that.
Sure,
You'd have that matrix, we can update it, but until we decide,
that's for our next
we gotta get to the meeting.
interrogation of the council.
Mm.
All right,
Looking
I
at
don't have-
goals here, are we still working on the goal section, or just let me know if
Yeah.
I'm,
we've gone on a tangent, but
no, it's all
all
right.
yours.
No worries. So looking at goals, my edits that were sent, through number 6, I have pretty much the same. Number 7 on here, I made kind of number 8, because number 7, if you see with my edits, it says develop and maintain a regularly update comprehensive catalog of town-owned and town-partnered properties that include a dossier of relevant details regarding each property. I feel that should be number 7, and then number 8 should be what 7 is. In a sense, say divest from real property with little to no use to the town. So that's kind of the order that that was my edit for that section.
Is the maintenance of a list a goal?
Yeah,
I don't think it's a goal. I think it's a part of the process
that's a
of
task.
of attaining the goal.
Yeah, we're already doing it.
I don't think that what we received was Portia's comments,
No.
because
I was just gonna say,
I don't have a number 8. That was what I was projecting here.
No, we didn't get it. He didn't send us the right document.
Yeah, David didn't send us the right document, Portia. Could you email me directly and I can put it up? Because I'm looking at this now. I don't see a number 8 under goals that you're referencing.
Why is nothing has it right there?
Your copy has it?
Yeah.
How does your copy have it? Oh, yes,
Oh.
Portia. We have an
This one.
additional document.
Oh.
We have your document.
Oh, you do have it. Okay, because I did send it in time. That's why I was confused.
You know what's tripping me up?
That's
They
green.
didn't label.
yeah, it doesn't say what it is.
Put Portia's name big and tall on this.
Do you have an extra one of that?
I do.
The green-
Um,
Yeah, I would think.
Or why does this look like, is this similar to what Ian gave us?
I thought this was Ian's.
This looks very similar to what Ian gave us.
We obviously live in the same household, so it doesn't make sense to type things 10 times. So we have the same layout, but we have different editions. So mine's a teal document,
His is
and
green.
Ian
Have a green
and
one.
his is
Have a
green.
green.
All right, we've got
All
a
right,
green
so
one.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
Yeah, we'll go with
there
Okay,
is
so-
teal and
There's teal inside of it.
Okay,
It's blended, if
Yeah.
you will.
I don't
But
know.
there
I'll
is a
send
number
you
8.
I'll send you my document. He just added my corrections in the end when he made his additions.
Gotcha. We do have a
just
number
for-
8. Yeah, so Ian took your goals list. So we have
Yeah,
that.
and okay. And Ian's gonna try to email my thing over separate. Well, it's kind of hard to do it with 2 computers here, so
Okay.
So let me see if I can look at Ian's to see if he incorporated all of my edits on the green
Develop,
document
maintain,
that way.
and regularly update a
Hold on one
comprehensive
second.
catalog. Yep, I'm reading number 7. Develop, maintain, and regular update comprehensive catalog of town-owned, town partner properties that includes a dossier. Relevant details.
Okay,
regarding-
yes, he did add my, because I did mine and then he went in and did his edits, so my edits are added on his. When I emailed mine though, I emailed mine separate in blue and his in green, but he did incorporate my edits in there. So number 7 and 8 are my edits.
Okay, that's for real property.
So this 3-page document we have with us now has both yours and Ian's comments incorporated in it.
Correct, but I'm also gonna try to send mine separate just for the record because it's separate, but yes. I wrote my document, sent it to him, and then he added in his edits, and then we sent them as 2 separate color codes to be added.
And I made a gaffe. It's 3 physical pages, but there are 6 pages of typewritten notes. Okay,
Alright, so I see Portia's number 7. My comment would be, I think that's more of the purpose, right? That's what the TOPE advisory committee is doing, is developing and maintaining a regularly updated comprehensive catalog that includes a dossier of relevant details regarding each property. That's the purpose, right? As opposed to a goal.
See, I don't know if it's a purpose, but I think for the town council's benefit, maybe it has to be there.
Right.
I don't think they pick up on what would be the product.
I agree.
Generally push back on just the idea of it. I'm not totally on board with 7. If you read some of the town manager's comments, he makes a pretty compelling argument against going too deep into town property, the smaller ones, the expense of surveys and appraisals.
But is that a relevant?
Wait, and we already have Larry's list, right? Your spreadsheet,
Which has,
pretty much everything.
well, it doesn't have a verified survey, it doesn't have a verified title search, but it has sufficient information
Right.
to kick off the process.
Right.
And then I agree with the town manager on that point. Once we then target a property, then you could say, let's spend the money for the detailed deep dive.
And
So-
so I talked to the town manager about his budget comment afterwards and asked him if he thought that it would be a significant cost, and he said not like super significant, like we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Still.
But you're still talking 10, 20 grand to,
10, 20 grand. And remember,
Yeah.
this wouldn't occur until we were ready to
That-
formalize.
right, that's the part.
And
I
that,
agree.
that's where you're gonna get,
Because it's the survey and the
Can you,
appraisal.
can you scroll the screen back down so I can see the goals that we're talking about? I just can't see them. Thank you.
I was trying to find
Did
your document.
I've accepted my
Overview of the
that.
title search.
I
We didn't
think
do
a
it.
catalog.
let's,
Yeah, I think a catalog is a good thing. It doesn't have to have the surveys and everything until it's being sold, but. You know, this one example is called Steve, I'm gonna use again. There was a piece of property in Old Mystic. The town didn't even know they owned until a neighbor brought it up. The other neighbors were mowing it because the town didn't know they owned it. The fire department's paying for the electricity on it because they didn't know the town owned it, and it's like this whole.
Where was this?
Where
Where was this?
Old Mystic. And
In Groton.
yeah, yeah, and so, I mean. Now you got a mess, right? I mean, thank God somebody brought it to the town's attention, otherwise somebody probably could have got it under, what do they call it, when they start taking care of it, but, so I think having a catalog, just a description, hey, given to the town by so-and-so, you know, this date, here's what it's used
Yeah,
for,
well, we have that.
okay?
Well,
Including that
we have, we have that, but we need to make sure, right, that maybe some additional, once again, if it doesn't go through, it doesn't go through. This was just my thoughts and recommendations based on some properties. I think the thing that, Larry has presented is great. I was just looking for more detail because we've had some of that stuff in the past, and it seems as if people lose track. We are losing property because we don't even know what we have. And that's it's a concern. So, people are complaining, or one of the comments I heard was, well, what is this TOPE and this committee going to be doing when there's no properties and they're going to be meeting quarterly or every 3 months? This is the type of thing that they could be doing, is working directly with the higher level staff that are part of planning, zoning, wetland, all those staff, and really going through our list and updating our data and, really being good stewards of our information and making sure that we are staying up to date on all of that information as property is purchased, like Wolfbrook property that was purchased, things like that. there's constantly going to be busy work, and we can use the experience and experts of everybody around the table. So that was just my thing. I mean, it's not a hard stop. It doesn't change a whole lot here. And then my number 8, was the previous number 7, just changed a little bit. So that was my thought. But again, we can indeed agree to disagree, and I'm okay with that. And if we don't add it, I'm okay as well.
Maybe with the idea that, I think, are we in agreement that the things that cost money and time are things that we don't do, which is the title search, the appraisal, and the survey,
Yes.
On what?
and the survey,
Yeah.
the file survey.
Things
So,
that-
okay, so until you're ready to sell it, then that's when that happens.
Great.
The other stuff, we can still meet, and a lot of these little properties, in 10 minutes, we probably come to some kind of agreement, what we think it's going to be.
Okay, so TOP is gonna do this.
The TOP would do
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
but they just wouldn't do those things, pull those things out, that's the cost items. A lot of, for so many of these properties, they're really easy, but
Yeah.
no place is a catalog.
Yeah.
That it's a good idea to get rid of, that is adjacent to some housing, that is adjacent to some part, what is, it hasn't been evaluated. And so the TOP would be the ones to do that, and this is where it would show up. It would be a 2-part process that we talked about.
I could agree that the high level financial side, fine, we wouldn't do that. But anything we can do that we are capable of doing, again, the town council changes over every 2 years possibly. Town manager, we don't know how long they're going to stay or not stay. We don't know how long people are going to stay on inland and wetlands, and we really do need a comprehensive document that outlives the test of time of what we have, and something that people can kind of look back at.
I agree, and
I
that's,
agree.
I think it should be part of the purpose, though. That's my only point, because
Yeah.
I think that is the complete purpose, I think, of the TOP, which is keep the catalog, make recommendations. That's its purpose, and then its goal is to make those recommendations based on all of these lovely criteria here. So
I think
like-
that's great.
I like it. Yeah,
I think that could add in the purpose then, if you think that's a better place to put it. I just think it's like, what are we doing here? We're keeping a catalog of our properties. We have the thing that Larry done. Just because it's in our packet doesn't mean it's going to be continued. So having it somewhere saying that we want that catalog is what I was trying to capture.
So we're agreeing that
Can-
we're going to put it into purpose, but in the process, when we're identifying how we're doing it, that's when we'll say the title search, appraisal, and survey,
not.
not until.
Can I recognize Ian Thomas? Ian?
Please do, because I can't see his
Who's
hand.
the chair?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to kind
A
of
committee
echo
member
what-
can
I couldn't see
recognize
it.
someone.
I couldn't see his hand was up.
That's fine, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Councilor Bordelon was saying, and yeah, it sounds to me like, I mean, that's what, kind of drew me to this project too, was the idea of having a centralized repository where everything is kind of centrally located and people can refer to, and I think it makes total sense to maybe not commit any money to that, just keep it a high level kind of skimming approach of like general thumbnail sketch of what's in the catalog. And then only, somewhere in the process, we could just say, title search and all that money would only be done as needed basis. Thank you.
That makes sense, yes.
You know what goals?
Done with goals.
Are
We have
we-
1 through 7.
Yes, so decision, oh, sorry, I don't mean,
No,
Is
um,
1 through 7, or are we going to take those last 4 and put them out into the balance the desired part? Or do you want to, or you actually want to throw number 1 into one of those balance? No matter what, we want to ensure the decision-making process is inclusive, participatory, et cetera. And we really should promote resiliency and sustainability. That's kind of easy enough to throw at everything. And the others are a balancing. They aren't.
well,
Must
that's
put-
why, wait, sorry,
Right
yeah.
now- right
Seek
now,
to satisfy, right? We don't have to satisfy, we seek to satisfy. It's a goal, but not a requirement.
that part's true.
I think that's getting to what your point is with balancing the needs.
I wrote that in there too.
Yeah. So I think we're good on the others. My only, just moving numbers, Portia's number 7, develop and maintain the repository to purpose.
Okay.
And then the original 7 remain. except I don't have a comparison. Did you say you tweaked the divest from real property with little to no use to the town, Portia? Did you tweak that language or did I mishear you?
I did. If you go back to the original, go
Mhm.
back to the condensed version from 416 that McBride condensed,
Okay,
you will see that it's a little different.
It looks the same to me.
yeah, divest from real property with little to no use to the town. Grow the town's grand list. Oh, I see. No, I don't. I'm sorry. Do you remember how it's different, Portia?
You have her comments.
Actually, you know why it's different? It's because I made it number 8. That's why I put it in color.
Gotcha.
So
So that's
it's
why
not
it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different in the sense it became 8 from 7.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now it goes back to 7 because we have moved 7 up to purpose.
Hey, that's why we're working together here.
Where's that seek to statement going? Because right now it's only in one item.
It's in number 5. Are you saying you would like to,
It should be seek for the rest because that was the issue.
so from 3 to 7,
Okay.
add seek to promote resiliency, seek to enhance the qualities. You
Right.
want to add seek to? Sure.
Yeah. So that's.
Is that okay with
Put
the,
all under seek to or
I keep,
I mean,
balance the desire.
I'm not trying to teach.
No, you're fine.
this is the way citizens value the reader's approach.
Right.
This is the way citizens value. So I don't care how you say it.
So for 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, we're going to add seek to.
Sure.
That makes sense to me. Anyone else?
Makes sense to me too. I agree.
So are we done with goals?
Thank God.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? It's really good at work.
We should be done by 10.
Timer's not running.
Now we got a biggie. The very first one is the town manager wants to run it. And the suggestion is the town manager doesn't run it. So that's kind of a,
And I think that
Good
goes
point.
back to a misunderstanding of the roles, responsibilities, and authorities, right? I think it was believed that this taupe would be the one running the RFP process. That's not the case.
that's not, yes, that I
And I
did
think
not,
that easily
Right.
disposes of his comment, in my opinion. You're not, like, I don't think of this committee, the taupe committee, as any different than a zoning or a wetlands or a housing committee, like it's a community.
it's actually less because those are regulatory.
Right,
Right.
This is advisory.
exactly. So it's advisory in nature. Can we just agree that we're adding the word advisory to taupe?
That's what it is.
Right, so,
Well, and I still gotta say too, and not to get too far off, I think the optics are bad. You gotta remember. I think what caused referral, and I'll let the person who made referral speak to it, is a process that doesn't have community involvement. And I'm not speaking of anybody, will take my comments out of context, but to have the same people that maybe people feel got us into that situation then run it, I don't think the optics of the
I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Right? It was just the town manager
I get it.
disagreed and
and that's where a matrix of the roles, responsibilities, and authorities would really come in to help illustrate to the town staff who, either don't want to be burdened with too much work and also don't want their work taken away from them,
Well.
can become more comfortable with the
Want to
information.
Town manager comments. And we're starting.
Well,
off
and we
here.
gotta, we have to also remember, like my comments are just my comments, everyone's comments is their comments. Town manager's comments, which I respect and I appreciate getting them. But, long haul, what's the next town manager gonna want? Is that gonna have to be changed, or how are we gonna do that?
Right. I think we're all in agreement that it was a misunderstanding, that there is a place for the manager and the staff, and it's just not here.
Well, how do we communicate that?
Yeah.
Because I think he'll be on board.
Yeah.
He understands, but if it just goes away, then he's not.
I
Right.
think if we edit the rest of this document, it clearly separates RFP drafting,
Right.
et cetera, versus so we got to keep those two separate.
Keep it separate.
Well, there's a fundamental disconnect that I see here. What he's saying is that as a town staff, which is true, they hear directly from developers and about various other economic. And then they would create a committee to pursue potential sales.
Mhm.
So in my world, in that world, developers come first, and then we form a committee. In my world, citizens come first. They figure out what's the best use for that property based on these goals.
Mhm.
Okay, now I know developers gonna keep knocking on doors, you're not gonna stop that. But in my world, developers are, citizens are not developers, so that's, he's got things out of order.
Yeah.
From my perspective, first we listen to what citizens want. Then we listen to developers' ideas.
Right, and I don't think there's anything in the TOP that prevents developers or staff coming and saying, hey, I got a call about this property.
Yeah, but I'm talking about what his thoughts are.
His thoughts are wrong.
Respond to his thoughts.
But
I don't agree with his thoughts.
I think we all agree, we disagree with his thoughts,
Yeah.
and if it's based upon a misunderstanding, we can clear it up.
Okay, however, when he talks about he wants to be the chair, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I mean, we need to discuss that more.
I don't have a problem with it.
Chair of the advisory committee.
Yeah, it's just an advisory committee. All we're doing is come up with that.
Do we want to dedicate town staff? And that's, you're paying him to be there at that advisory.
Yeah, I know. I think the thing is, personally, I don't have a problem, but this whole thing has been about community perception and and that's what we got to manage, not just
Correct.
Yeah,
the reality. So for that reason, I thought we were in agreement. We did not want the town manager to chair the TOP. Now, when you get to the next stage of the RFP process, I think the town should.
Correct.
it's a staff function,
It's a staff function.
Absolutely.
I agree.
I agree with that as well.
but we still need a chair then, so.
That's fine.
The chair. of the-
I mean, if we had a volunteer on
if-
the state.
Well, I mean, the town manager can name one and recommend one to the town council.
No, this is an animal of the town council. The
Right.
town council is creating a committee. It has to
Has
be
to
a
be,
town
right.
councillor.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yep.
Ian, I saw your hand go down. Was that just, it was up and now okay, you trying to get attention again?
Yeah, I just, in reviewing, Portia's edits, I think that was kind of addressed in the idea of having the town council and, sort of having the town mayor would appoint the chair and the two counselors to the TOP committee. If you look at her edit,
On the screen,
it's sort of,
right?
yeah. Let's see. I'm sorry, maybe that was, sorry, I'm getting confused because I kind of like looked through both edits. That might be in my edit. Yeah, actually, no, it's in my edit in the green. The town council in conjunction with the town for number 1 underneath decision of disposition of town-owned property. That's where I addressed the town manager concern of chairing the committee, and also a way to just kind of streamline the population of the committee. So it doesn't have to go through personnel and appointments, that the chairs of each respective body would kind of appoint their people.
Yeah. I mean, with that, I understand not putting it through personnel appointments. However, personnel appointments does have that statutory requirement to have minority representation. Is that something we want to risk losing? Not that the town is very good about following those rules to begin with.
Even for an advisory. When I mean,
It's still regulatory.
yeah,
But I mean, we have all, like the Community Development Advisory Committee exists and it's appointed by the Personnel Committee. And it
Yeah.
statutorily has to have
Right.
minority representation.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't, there's 5 Democrats and nobody else, but it's supposed to.
sometimes if you're gonna have a representative, let's say from the Conservation Commission, and they're not, but if they were all Democrats, we're all Republicans, you can't, you can't get there from here. So I think the pragmatics of it has to rule.
Being appointed just from each committee.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
More as a liaison situation.
well, that's kind of what it is,
Sure.
right? Yeah,
Um,
my view is I would go back to my commission and say, look, here's ahead of time, said, here's a position I think we should take. What do you guys think? And get a vote. And I'd come back and say, look, my commission has this position on this property.
Mhm.
So it's not my personal opinion,
Okay.
it's the
But nonetheless, you are the official.
representative. Yes,
That's true.
Your commission, so you have to be appointed.
But by who?
The commission that
mayor.
he's coming from,
The
mayor.
By the mayor.
Coming from.
The mayor.
the committee,
You
the
say mayor,
committee,
we
So-
say-
committee is
So
coming
I have a-
from.
I have a quick
Just-
question. Did
Like,
we, did we
Wait one,
receive
please.
any,
Just a minute, Counselor Bordelon, go ahead. You guys finish.
Did the mayor go to the committees and say, give me somebody, or?
No.
Yeah,
No.
Yes,
yeah. Yeah,
yes.
appoint somebody, name somebody and we'll.
Give me a liaison. That's, I mean, that's what they do with all their other.
I don't know if that's how I
liaison
got here or
I
not.
want to,
Some say.
another way.
committees. That's how you got
I know I
here.
was asked, but I don't know if the mayor asked for it. I know it kind of came up and.
Yeah.
I was asked.
Well, through the council, right?
well, the referral, I made a referral. And then we needed to have a, the mayor appointed 3 people, and then we, as the 3 counselors that were appointed, decided that we wanted to bring in the people that make the decisions. And then we asked if we could add to the group, and that was considered okay.
But so what you did was. You guys then put out the word for each of the commissions committees. To send something.
Right,
And that
but any committee that's like drafting something or working on anything, you can invite anybody at any time technically. But we because we're not a standing committee, we're just an investigation kind of committee, an advisory right now. We were able to invite you guys on to help us with the labor, so to speak.
Now, if we're agreeing with that, it says so.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
process should go electing the total. Just.
Okay.
So
committee.
my question is, I'm looking over here at the version that Councilor McBride had put together. And it doesn't have people's names on it. Did any counselors send any recommendations on the process other than the verbal stuff from the meeting? Did we receive any documents as of up to date that any recommendations for this area?
Shockingly, no.
No, I don't recall that we did.
Okay, I was just checking because I just wanted to make sure we honor any comments that were received, just to include them. So
They seem very interested. I'm shocked that they didn't provide input.
Okay, moving on. So we've agreed, I think, that in essence, number 1 was pretty good with changes. And number 2,
No, I don't think we made that.
Okay.
Now it says the town manager will establish.
oh no, I was
Oh,
going.
you look at that one.
So here's the thing. There's Ian's edits, which is the town council in conjunction with town manager. And then there's moderator of the art and chairs of each respective agency listed below shall establish,
Yeah.
will meet time to time. So there's that language. And then we have Portia's language here in blue on the screen. All TOP committee meetings shall include a standing agenda. So those are the 2 pieces. I think for number 1, we still need to adjudicate. Number 1, I
I think we have to, by statute, keep recordings and minutes, et cetera. So I'm not sure.
did I?
Yeah.
Did I?
Elsewhere in the doc. But
So we've been talking, that's my confusion. I'm sorry. We've been talking membership, like who's going to be the chair. That's number 2. I don't
That's
think,
number 2. Right.
okay, did we adjudicate this first part with Portia? And also, Ian Thomas had different changes as well.
Well, that's kind of what's here. I mean, the green
The green is Ian
And the
and the blue
blue
is Portia.
kind of match.
But just the town council that.
Town council.
The town council.
The town council.
Period.
And, yeah,
Okay,
period.
now,
Don't say they're gonna talk to anybody else, great, but they establish it. We're gonna say how they establish it.
All right, so Portia's comment right here looks to add a standing agenda item for citizens petition. I think we are all okay with that.
Yep.
As necessary and agreed to by a majority vote of the executive session by the TOP committee. Yep. Recordings and minutes must be maintained for all meetings and available for public review. I think we're all good with that.
Yep.
Okay, so now,
should that be a separate number? I mean, the first one is established, right? Established. Listed below, established town and values committee that meets quarterly, blah, 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 all such meetings. Now, All such meetings, could that be number two?
So that's fair.
And it shouldn't be number two, just in the order of precedence for these things, but it can be a different number.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't be in the same paragraph.
It should be under
I
four.
disagree, let's talk about meetings and it's.
Well, number four speaks to meetings, so I can understand putting that, those sentences under four when we talk meeting. Because you have to think about the logical flow of the
That's-
attachment, right?
That does make sense, yes.
Okay.
So,
I can agree with that as well.
right, because you establish it,
Yeah,
you
right.
put bodies on it,
Yes, yes,
you do that, and then you talk about how you're meeting.
logical sequence.
So we're gonna say yes to all of this. And move it to number four. Right,
So basically where it says all tope
so starting at all
to number 4.
move to
You
number
said
four.
move to number 4?
Yeah, move to number 4. And we can just make that C, D, and E on number 4.
And
Number 2.
The TOP committee shall be chaired, I'm reading portion that it's. Sorry, Counselor Bordelon, that it's, the TOP committee shall be chaired by a town councillor as selected by the mayor and shall include 3 town staff selected by the town manager, 3 representatives of the town council, including the chair, selected by the mayor, 3 representatives of the RTM as selected by the moderator, 1 representative of the ECD, 1 of the Groton Housing Authority, 1 of Conservation, 1 of Economic Development Commission, so that's a repeat. Right, because it's right up there. So 1 of the Conservation Commission, that's also a repeat. 1 of the Groton Housing Authority, it's also a repeat. A representative from Inland Wetlands, from Planning Zoning. So,
3,
That's-
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Right.
That's 12 right there.
so you got 3 counselors, the 3 town staff. Yeah, that's 9, just if you,
They up the motion.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, you upped, Portia, you increased the number of RTM members? Was there a reason? Counselor Bordelon?
I was just looking for balance, but we don't have to. Once again, these are my 10 o'clock at night, sitting over, a cup of tea, like brainstorming. These are just my brainstorms. Doesn't mean it has to be, but I was just looking at it and it looked more balanced to me at the time.
So I've got
Yep.
14 here.
So,
no, it's, go ahead.
but
Well, I was just gonna say, so on the one edit, it goes up to 3 town staff selected by the town manager, and this is saying it shall be 3.
I like up to better. That way it gives flexibility to the staff to be as involved or not involved, depending on,
The town manager's discretion.
frankly.
Also,
I
if you use the word up to, then it's not a hard stop either.
Yeah, it's
And since,
0, which I'm also okay with. Yeah, Ian?
I just want to say, I think the shall was my edit, so I was just going crazy with changing all the wills and things to shalls. So if shall is problematic in that area, obviously feel free to change it.
I think
And
up to,
May. I think that shall should be a may.
That.
Yeah.
Okay.
May include
up to
2,
3.
3.
Before we move on, can we make sure we're clear on each paragraph? Because I've still got an issue on 2. 1 and 2. Okay. The last sentence, I believe, talks about the representative of each basic board shall be selected by the chair of that body. I think it should be appointed by, because the selection might be by vote of that body.
Sure.
I mean, it's minor.
Selected, appointed.
Yeah. I don't even know if you need that sentence.
I think it's appropriate, especially since it bounds the term
Okay.
to the representatives.
Yeah.
from- That's
So are we good on appointed or?
So one thing that was not here that's been dropped tonight, feel is very important. Was by heart, there needs to be some historical oversight that's been taken out. It's not HC. Because it's not historic district. I mean,
Where else we go?
okay,
He'd be appointed because it would be in the meeting minutes of one of those board's meetings that a member was appointed to.
Okay.
I'm sorry, John, I did not hear exactly what you said.
No, we
He
have
wants-
some historical oversight, you know, I'll use an example that Mr. Oral,
Anybody-
you know, is,
I got one.
okay, all right, we'll wait for 5, thank you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I just think somewhere in here, there needs to be a citizen that is in charge of historical oversight. There's too much serious history in this area that to not take into consideration as service. But I think that added somewhere.
And I was suggesting that actually as part of number 5, when evaluating properties, there's a listed thing. Having historicity.
So
But we're not there yet.
we're not there yet. I hear you that you want permanent standing membership in the historic district commission. My devil's advocate would be, how many historic districts where the authority of the HDC would apply?
So I'd like to speak to that because you're right. So maybe it's not the Historic District Commission, maybe it's a citizen appointed to be the historian, you know, so for example,
Mr. Streeter.
hang on,
Let,
finish.
let, Mr. Goodrich finish.
You know, so we look at the oral school, which is not in the historic district, it's not on their HDC purview. I mean, I was on the phone with the state historic preservation officer that's getting the state archaeologists involved because it's probably a very significant colonial and Native American site. You know, to use a silly example, the Wolfbrook property, who's to say 50 years from now, somebody's not going to do a land swap to build a school there when that was a major area in the swamp fight during the Pequot War. So what I'm saying is there's properties that aren't HDC regulated that are highly significantly historically, and we need that needs to come into the equation somehow, and I would like to see that in the document where that's addressed.
Could we add language where, oh, sorry, Portia, yep, you're ahead of me, good.
No, sorry, and I apologize. There's a delay, so if it seems like I'm cutting in, it's not not intentionally. It sounds like it's my chance to cut in, but it's a bit of a delay. I think the Historic District Commission plays a vital role. In my opinion, I think Groton is behind the curveball as far as the Historic District Commission. That's no insult to any of the members that are on there. I think that we've lost our way in some aspects. When I look at New London and other surrounding communities, if you call the town, they know their top 5 historic buildings, lands, they're marked. They use them on street signs in their town as like their old building, you know, I forget the name of the one in New London exactly. But in Groton,
William
you know,
House.
okay, yeah, exactly. It's on. You go to Groton, there's really not a great capture. We could talk about the history of what happened here, but when it comes to our buildings and properties, it's kind of like all over. It's just like, oh, I don't know which one's the oldest building. Because I asked John Goodrich, I said, "Are you the oldest building in Groton?" He goes, "Good question." He goes, "Let me contact our, town for the records." They didn't even know. We don't even know what. So how do we have a standard if we don't know what we have? So I do think keeping the Historic District Commission involved is an important piece. Where let's say a building is about. Well, look at the one there at Thames Street. Okay, people were really opposed about that being lost, and I think it's important, when a property becomes available, let it be a foreclosure, it could be a historic building. There should be an historic preservation avenue that's already in place that people are thinking, well, should we restore it as a town? Or the developer that comes in must keep X, Y, and Z because of this. So I do think Groton needs improvement in that area. And I think it's one of the reasons because it's not captured anywhere other than if you want to redo your front porch or your windows in a historic district. Not every house that's historic is even registered. Just because they don't live in a historic district zone area, there's historic homes that are not registered with the state yet and aren't being captured. So I'm worried about historic lands and things as we find out moving forward and what we have. That's just my thought.
We just agreed, then I'll jump ahead to our number 5, evaluating properties. Seek input and consider the following questions. This says questions, and I would like that to be changed to cover these properties subjects. One of them being the historic significance of the property. So that's gotta be a
Any
balance.
historic.
So I agree, but I think we need to also delineate, there needs to be somebody in charge of that, because then it becomes a little too squishy. Oh, well, you know, town staff, town staff may not be was sort of trained to look at it. So I think we need to delineate whose job it is.
So we do need to add somebody from the historic,
Well,
Either the-
somebody with historic credit.
Right.
Okay.
not necessarily from the HDC.
Somebody from the town, could be anybody in the town, who has historic credentials. I mean, it may not be a district person who's worried about.
Who's adjudicating the credentials?
Pardon?
The question is going to be who's adjudicating the credentials?
It's-
John's an expert. I want him on my committee. Does John have any credentialing? Well, yes.
I do, but
Does Streeter have it in this area? You know, does
It could be somebody with
actual credentialing,
the
yeah.
broad historic credentials he's talking about,
Right,
not just your shingles match
right.
the 1870s.
So do we look to the HDC to recommend someone to us for that? Or,
Right, that could be.
oh,
Also-
so let me say, so I'm probably a little biased. I mean, I think, here's the thing. The historic, you can add historic districts in this town by a vote of the residents. So let's say, for example, you guys, hey, we're historic district, 75% of you agree, you become a historic district. So historic districts can be added. And I'm gonna play devil's advocate why the HTC is probably correct. We're the ones that work with the State Historic Preservation Office most, and if you guys want to watch the training they gave us, so let's say a property comes up that we need to be historic. State SHPA can get involved, and there's grant money for surveys, for the title work. So on that bigger property, we can deflect some of that cost away from the town. So there's benefits to it too. They will also help in marketing it and getting the right development and protecting the historical significance. So there's resources we can bring into a specific property if it is that this test.
Is SHPO the go-to those things?
They are.
Some base was too.
Yep.
Was the SHPO.
Yep.
For everything.
Yep.
And half of the time, the answer is no, it's just an old building, knock it down. So-
Right, but you run it by them first, absolutely.
You know, and also we need someone, you know, and again, our town is trying, but there are other municipalities that do a better job. You know, look at the Jabba Smith house down, you know, okay, so we need someone also that's also protecting if this was an estate that was left to be blah or this. We need someone to know the historic value of the house, what it was left and its purpose that it was left. Not just it's starting to deteriorate and we didn't put any money into it anymore. And then, okay, let's develop it or let's give it to somebody that's going to bring it back to its preservation. Like we need other experts to know what we have when a property comes up and know not just the historical building, but what about the land? There's experts on both ends of that. I think that's important to distinguish. You know, it's vital that we just understand what we have and know the significance, or when a property becomes available that could be purchased that maybe the town wants to retain for a historic value or significance, you know, because let's keep in mind, this document, what is historic now is not going to be, it's going to be even more historic in 100 years, and things that we don't think are historic now that are going to outlive us are going to become historic. It's also important that we have someone on this committee doing this, because right now we're looking at land we have, but what if someone was to pass away and leave acres and acres of land that, you know, we are not really on the radar with, that is extremely historic. We want someone that has those expertise on this committee.
for purposes of this discussion, can we just limit, right now, can we just talk about how we want to get that historic person on this committee? Do we agree
That's what
that
I'm
they should be?
doing. Yeah.
No, I understand, but
I have a
as far as the
proposition.
details for why,
Yes,
Well, I mean, I think it's important because the details are the most important as to why, and I'm just putting it on the record for future, and if whoever watches this, it is vital, because we do not know, some may argue that the land we have now, we don't have enough of it that's town owned. We might not now, but that might not be later. So,
totally got you. I have a proposition. I'm gonna do some horse trading here. We go back from 3 RTM down to 2. That brings our total committee to 13 members. Bring it back up to add the HDC, we're at 14. And then to address the concern of there's too many people here, you're gonna need 9 for a quorum. That was the town attorney's comment. What I will say is, we make the town staff ex officio, because remember, we're also keeping this citizen oriented, so we're making them ex officio.
Yes, yes,
They're not
yes, I think
voting,
that's great.
they're not voting on a proposal to the town council that they then would have to work and be in charge of the RFP process for. That's to me, to make them ex officio. And then in addition, we can make the HDC ex officio in case there's not like any real need for them to weigh in necessarily, but they're there.
I like that. I can agree with that.
That drops the committee membership down to 10.
You got agreement, stop talking.
Yeah. And
Did you
I
happen
think,
to
I think,
Did you
I
happen to
think-
write that down? You got that written down? Okay.
yeah,
I
I think
second.
that's. I think that's great because that satisfies the decision from the council wanting it. It was too big, so we just did that. I also think it's also important that we asked the Historic District Commission to be part of this committee, and then we're not including them, which kind of defeats the purpose. So I think it addresses that. So I think we did it. I think that's perfect. And I commend you, Lauren, for that edit.
Well done. Thank you.
Right?
If I can realize that. It's helpful, hopeful very much.
No,
Putting together a report.
Yeah, it's a
So it's
report.
just getting consensus,
advice,
But the quorum.
but the quorum.
Yeah.
The quorum.
Yeah.
In this case, the quorum would be 6.
Be easy to achieve.
Easy to achieve.
Okay,
And remember, next time you hear the qualm, we have such a hard time getting volunteers as it is. Remember, these people are people who already like to sit here and do this already. This is how we spend our day.
don't go that far.
Yeah.
You were pretty good until that.
My wife's not watching this.
We all know that we're
No,
6
no,
individuals who
no.
like to volunteer.
Well, that may be. That was 2.
That was 2.
Um,
And we're-
We're going to do them and comment on it.
Yep,
We are 1 and
Changed
4 hours
appointed.
in,
That was the last thing, right? Okay. So,
changed appointed.
okay, 3.
Who are town staff?
yeah, this one you just changed. If they're ex officio, there is no term.
Correct.
I don't know. how
So we
that
can
is-
strike that.
Yeah,
Elected representatives from the town council and RTM will hold 2-year terms parallel with their political terms. TOP committee will meet as frequently as needed. Yes, so here's what I would suggest here. Likely be impacted will be invited to become members of ex officio. I'd like to break number 3 up. If we're still under membership. And actually, I'd like to make number 3 2A. I would like to delete the first sentence. Because as pointed out, if they're ex officio, it won't matter. I think the second is a little inapplicable because it's not like. So if you get freshly appointed, right? Then, or if the mayor decides to pull a town councilor off or the moderator decides to swap out the RTM, they can do that at their discretion. Like you're not gonna be the town council representative when your term expires and you're not elected back to town council.
you're no longer town
Yeah,
council.
I think that it's just,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be said. So that we can consolidate words, because I know the length. of
I agree. It's a
is absurd.
it's a superfluous, yeah.
The TOP committee will meet as frequently as needed, but no less than quarterly to review town-owned properties. Okay, that sentence can be moved down to 4 under meetings, because that speaks to frequency. Other key stakeholders, including relevant town staff, other ABC members, and residents of nearby properties likely to be impacted, invited to become members of this body as needed on an ex officio status. That is the one sentence I would keep, and I'd make that 2A.
Can you, I'm just lost. Where are we at again?
We are on number 3 on the screen here. Can you see the screen?
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted. I
And
lost
my
my page.
recommendation would be to keep only the last sentence and make that 2A. So we're only speaking to membership. And then the sentence about meeting quarterly would be moved to meetings because that speaks to meetings.
Makes
I can
sense.
support that. I can support that.
ABC reps.
Mhm.
Will serve staggered 3-year terms. That's out.
ABC rep staggered, that's not a thing.
No, but it's part of the first sentence.
No, that's who our town staff, or, oh, I see what you mean, or ABC representative shall serve staggered
Right.
3-year terms.
But that's the same as so if I'm off the HDC, I'm not gonna be the HDC rep if you're off planning and zoning.
Yeah,
So
It's a
yeah.
little superfluous.
Yeah,
Okay, so you can serve for as long as you want.
Right.
Good. That's
Well-
fine. I don't mind that.
No, because the chair could also say, let's say, the chair says, you're not doing it anymore, I'm putting Joe in your
But
place,
there's,
you know?
so there's no limits on serving. That's the point. Right.
Okay, I do see the concern in. You want them staggered so that when we get another 9-person sweep, they don't sweep this committee right here. That's interesting. That's a consideration.
well, wait, we said that a lot of these are, forget the RTM and those members, from the commissions themselves.
Are getting appointed up.
They kind of are self-selected and have terms.
Right, and their terms are
Staggered.
gonna be staggered all over the place anyways. Okay,
You're appointed to a 3-year term. And you can be
He'll
reappointed.
be reappointed.
Yeah,
We all want
Yeah.
to get reappointed.
right. You can be appointed to a 3-year term.
and you could be reappointed, but this
I'm
committee
not
is,
excited about staggered. What are you gonna, like, stagger me and you?
right,
Yeah,
but
I
that
don't-
you
I-
serve
who
from
cares?
2020 to 2023, and he serves from 2021
We're
to
different commissions. I
2024.
mean,
Yeah,
Different commissions, and the idea would be to keep a continuity of information and also prevent
okay.
these 9 get replaced and then sweep our
Well,
entire committee.
my view, it's my job to go make sure all my commission members are up to speed, concur with what's going on, are involved, so.
Right,
All right, so where does
And
that
because
go?
this is-
ABC reps are appointed for 3-year terms.
that gets deleted. I-
Deleted.
I would say because, and think again about how we're structuring and whose authority it is to appoint. If we're saying that these are liaisons from their respective committees, it is not our business as an advisory committee to be creating terms for people on the
Right,
advisory.
Cause I got a 5-year term,
And
and all of a sudden, if the 3-year, and all of a sudden, my term is ended.
You only got 2 years left.
And the other thing
Okay.
is, if terms are for the personnel and appointments committee
All right.
to deal with, right?
So you serve until you're
That-
replaced. You serve until you quit or you're replaced.
Correct. Serve until you quit or you're replaced.
Okay.
Do we think that we need to say that?
No.
So how do you,
Heard.
so I know you want to make this 2A, how do you change? Just tell me what I'm.
So, we're gonna delete the first sentence. We're gonna delete the second sentence. This third sentence is going to move
To
to number 4,
number 4.
and it would become. Remember, we're also moving that other point to number 4. So make that C, make the other points about the agenda. And the citizens petition. D and E. And then the other key stakeholders. This last sentence becomes 2A.
So that second letter,
Right.
that second one is F now.
F.
You said 4, we got C, E, and E.
Right, so C, D, and E, yes, and that can become F.
Right.
Yep, so C, D, E,
And the other key stakeholders, including relevant town staff,
that
that
becomes 2A.
that
Keep
is
for the membership heading.
2A. Okay. All right.
That would make meetings actually number 3, and you're gonna have to renumber this whole document. Sorry,
It's only 6 pages.
Just back on you, stay until.
As long as I have some help.
Place.
yeah,
Oddity in the housing authority is, if you move out of town, you can still be a member, you can still be on the board of the housing authority until you're replaced.
until you're replaced or until your term
No,
expires.
no, well, one or the other, but you can, yeah, one or the other. But it could be 2, I mean.
Yeah.
We just had a case there. We had a guy move to Stonington
And he stayed on in Groton.
until he was replaced.
Hmm.
Yeah, we had some rules so the housing authority always has membership,
Sure, and that's
That's a
specific,
state rule.
that's a state,
Yeah.
interesting, okay, well, we can't fight the state.
At least not today.
That little idiosyncrasy.
There's a lot of idiosyncrasy.
Yeah.
idiot something.
Oh,
All right.
wow. Okay, so we're done with 3, i.e. 2A. And so are we changing 4 to 3?
Yes, meetings now becomes number 3. We can keep the original numbering if it helps for conversation, though.
That's fine.
You're gonna retype this?
I will retype this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So under 4, I don't see any edits here specifically.
It actually has, yeah, it's a, in parentheses, it's my comment, and I had it rewritten. Maybe statements versus questions. My problem having these things, all questions. it's-
Oh, you're on the former number 5,
The former.
the paragraph formerly known as number 5. We're talking about meetings.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
not there yet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay,
So meetings, we now have A through F. Okay, an individual organization, we're good with A and B. There are no changes except for to add the word committee in. It looks like that's Ian's comments. And then we're adding in C, D, and E coming from Portia's additions about making sure there's citizens petition, making sure there's agenda or on the agenda, citizens petition, executive sessions as majority vote, and recordings and minutes must be maintained.
Is that-
That is now C, D, and E. And number F is now,
Oh, wait a minute. I gotta-
is that TOP Advisory Committee? No,
yes.
yeah, so we need to add,
Yes, I will add
advisory.
the word advisory in.
okay, I'm sorry, Bob.
I gotta go back to
New number 3, meetings.
B.
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 The TOP committee will also review particular parcels and bring them forward for future review. So that's a little confusing. We're gonna review and bring forward for future review.
Okay, do you want to delete the words for
What is that?
future review?
Yeah.
So it now reads and bring them forward
Yeah,
for consideration by
Yeah.
the committee?
yeah.
Or you mean by the council?
I don't
The
know.
TOP committee will also review particular parcels and bring them forward for future review and consideration by the committee.
Yeah, but
It'd be consideration by the
by
council,
the council.
Right,
right?
so future review is gone, future review and is gone, and it's forward for consideration by the council.
Right.
Okay.
All right, now we're on number 5, and unless, I'm sorry, I don't need to dominate.
No, you go right ahead.
Alright.
I'm just trying to keep up.
Now, that doesn't say. I mean, it doesn't say a lot. That's a simple, B is a simple statement. I can live with it.
Okay.
There's a lot there.
Yes.
I think it's important because it allows, we're not just creating the database and we're not just hearing from people who come to us. We are allowed to initiate the process. I think that's an important one to have.
Okay,
Okay.
new number 4.
Right, and there's no header on all of these other ones. But that's okay with me. I'll just consider them policy in my mind. So new number 4, when evaluating properties, the committee shall seek input and consider the following questions. I believe there's some comments on the questions.
Okay, that's the way it's framed, because when you ask a question, then the answer is yes. Or no. And it's that, so I just want to make sure that's part of the core of this thing, for the committee will produce a report,
Sure.
that's the place to put it, or produce a report that includes, and it becomes a list of
How the following were considered.
how the following are considered, and the following is
So you want to add,
current use by town department.
so you want to add language that says produce a report that and
That considers the
Considers.
following.
Yeah.
That would be fine.
And I think all the questions are there.
All the questions are there, but I think you can chop them, it reads better if they're the statements such
So
as.
what is it? Read that again.
Yeah, how do you read that?
For each property review, the TOW committee will produce a report that includes, I have the following information, but how can we put that?
All right, is it-
Includes the following.
It could be plural reports, right? Is this
For
minority
each
opinion
property,
thing?
for each property is one report.
Yeah, okay.
there,
Wait a minute,
About
you're there and you're here.
proposals, right? There could be different opinions.
Oh, yeah. This is what.
Is it snowing?
Oh,
I was gonna say, you are bundled up.
Windy.
okay.
Right, if you want to share those.
Okay, that becomes current use by town department.
The one report, many thoughts.
Support of a municipal function. Foreseeable future use by any town department, or municipal.
And Ian's got the comment, or town partnered entity.
Okay,
Okay,
suitability for housing. Suitability for active recreation or open space. Suitability for road or drainage improvements.
Mhm.
Potential for significant economic development opportunities. To be generated by the sale of the property. And the potential for relief from potential liability, from liabilities and or the cost of maintaining.
I think that's fine. I've one.
and historic
add.
impact,
Thank you.
yes.
Yes.
Bob, you had a comment?
Yeah, you just could say that when they evaluate, the committee will consider the goals. I mean, right, are we rewriting the goals here?
Well, I think that this hammered down specifically, when you consider the goals
Pardon? Okay.
Much more detail.
Cover all the goals.
and address it and make one of them and how it addresses the goals.
And also we're gonna add the historical impact or historical significance.
Historical impact.
Actually, and current applicable zoning, wetland or and economic classification of property, it's already listed. Potential effects on neighboring parcels, it's
Address.
just taking out the section.
Yeah, if you want to send that to me.
Okay.
Address goals, address. Okay, planning, zoning, wetland. So that. I'm happy with all of that, though. Yeah,
I had a slight edit. Because you took out conservation purposes, which is vague. But I think conservation easements should be added because there's a lot of things we could do, which doesn't mean it's open space or anything else. But there's a particular thing that should be.
Sure.
so conservation easements, and where are you saying he took that out of?
That's under E. Active recreation, open space,
Yeah.
conservation easements, not conservation purposes.
Mhm.
Easements, a very specific term.
Gotcha.
And I have a whole database of easements if you're interested in seeing that.
I do have insomnia, thank
So
you.
that's on the original document,
Yes, on the original document.
the 416 document. Okay.
Stupid question time. Why are we eliminating A and B?
We aren't, I don't agree with eliminating those. I prefer Larry's rewording. So that's
Okay.
not a question, but an item to address.
His-
Okay,
Larry, sorry.
so they're gonna stay in Larry's list.
He's got hair.
Yeah.
Easy to.
So what you're looking at right now is Ian Thomas's
Yeah, I know.
comments.
Yeah, yeah.
He deleted them. Hi, Ian.
Yes, I just wanted to chime in real quick. I chose to eliminate A and B because it seemed like it all could be covered by combining it into C. But I understand if that's not popular.
No, that makes sense, actually.
One is current use, one is future use.
I might have a great idea for property the town's already used for something else,
It says current ordinance for you,
Yeah.
but let's
you know?
remember also, if this is for unused or underutilized, are we saying that if the town is using it, it's being underutilized?
Yeah,
Could be.
yeah,
Could be, yes.
that's a very subjective.
So do we want to keep A and B separate? I agree, now that I read it through Ian's explanation, I think A and B are redundant, right? Is there a current or foreseeable future use by any town department or town partnered entity? Could you be a little bit more specific, Ian, on what you're calling a town partnered entity? Because this is the first time I'm seeing that term.
I was just trying to be consistent in some of the terms. As far as like, the town partnered, like say the Mystic Oral School situation, it wasn't town owned, it was state owned, but the town was partnered in it in a very intimate fashion that, required a lot of approvals and things like that. Does that
Yeah,
help?
That's fine.
Yeah,
you
that
can't see
makes
me
sense.
nodding my head. I'm nodding my head. Nods vigorously.
Definitely, I would separate them. 'Cause you want to have one line saying it's currently used by the school's robotics program.
Which is it?
Do we think it's Underuse, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should be a
Yes.
playground or a park.
It can be both.
turn over the keys.
And somebody put it there and another document. So anything can be there, but that's.
Guys, we're being recorded. Can set me up for great comments. I'm gonna be recorded.
We're gonna be recording.
We are being,
Oh, we are being recorded.
keep your comments clean. Come on,
Yes, I imagine we'll think about this.
Okay.
Okay,
moving on.
so are we good with the new number 4?
I think so.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Can I title it report?
Gonna give that a header.
I'm doing that report.
Reports, excellent.
Now we are on
We are on,
formally number 6.
We're 5, wait a minute.
Formerly
5.
the new 5, formerly number 6.
What does it say?
The TOPE committee will hold at least one meeting with an
Okay.
open, proactive and standing invitation for residents from adjacent parcels, the surrounding area and the town at large. For the area likely to be impacted by potential development, specifically the adjacent parcels in the surrounding area within a 1-mile radius. Town staff shall conduct proactive outreach actions, including but not limited to posting notice of public meeting on the potential development site, etc. All right, is this whole thing mostly been reworked, it looks like? I'll be honest, I'm not too familiar with the original document. And if it's not in
Well,
here,
it said
then
half a mile, this one says a mile.
yeah,
I was
a
gonna
mile.
comment, a mile's big.
a mile.
Mile's big.
Mile's big.
Even, I think, yeah, and I think half a mile is generous to begin with. If you look at posting for planning and zoning changes, that's 500 feet. Feet,
Feet.
Yeah,
feet.
I would have been okay with 500.
Now, that's just the invitation, but we would not rule out folks from other parts of the town being able to come in
Oh.
and.
Personally, I don't see a problem being overly inclusive with a mile. I mean,
You will, when you look at the
Technically, yeah.
price of postage.
It says,
Allowing people. So
Yeah.
we're requiring a mile. That's why I said I'd be okay with 500 feet, but anybody can come in. We're gonna post
Right,
it.
so
It's gonna-
here's the thing is you run into consistency issues if we're going 500 feet on a planning and zoning long standing, like that is from the state down to the municipal level. That's the standard, it's 500 feet. I don't mind bumping that up a bit more, but we've all canvassed a mile worth of houses. That's a lot of houses, right?
Yep.
I get it. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate and use the situation with a different commission where we have to change our posting requirements because neighbors weren't aware to put it in the newspaper. And let's be honest, who reads the print edition of the newspaper anymore? You know what I do with mine? I make it as a notch for my fireplace.
and I also go to all the online sites.
Does the town have addressing software? They can just draw a circle and.
God, I hope so.
I
I don't know.
not think so.
Supposedly, we're getting that soon on our new update.
So consider this.
Because I don't know physically how you do this. I mean,
You-
It's.
Right, you can do it. I've had to do it for my job, right? And what you do
it's
is
a Huge manual effort.
it is a huge manual
Right.
effort if you don't pay for it. I don't know if the town has it. But that's what I'm saying is if you bump going into 500, so for instance, Mother Bailey, right? I had to post for 500 people down there on Main Street,
Mailing the abutters
mailing the abutters. but
and giving everyone else in town the same information, not just the ones that are in a half mile or mile, but everybody.
Yeah, it should be on the website, should be in the paper.
It should be posted
That's
everywhere.
fine.
I think this is speaking to how many people are we gonna send a mailer to?
Simply, that's a lot of towns, put a stake in the ground and put like.
I love that.
Sign.
Like HTC, we're requiring signs now, so everybody.
Planning and
I
zoning
heard,
requirement.
I think, I don't know if it was New London or Waterford, we were like, ooh, there's a, like, there was, they had a sign out and it said for more information, contact this. But it drew your attention to know.
I would certainly be okay with a sign on that property.
Yeah.
I think that's a good,
That's perfect.
That's what we're doing with HTC. It's a yellow sign.
We do
date
that
of
in
day,
zoning.
Time.
Zoning.
It's just.
Right.
Yeah.
So for this specific, when you're saying, you have to invite specifically for a mile. What that tells me is if you are specifically required to invite those people, your effort would be either knocking on their door and handing them something or putting a stamp on it. And now you're talking 51 cents per person. That could be up to 100, you know what I mean? Like you're starting,
thousands.
you could start racking up a bill.
There is something else. we could, other towns do this. You invite people to come into a mailing list, a town mailing list,
Sure.
right? So if you want to know what's going on, you get an email. I get emails from towns that I've signed up. for.
Yeah.
That could be part of the signage.
Well, and that's something that I could, we could also say, because I know like when there was, the economic development side of things and businesses were finding like, they weren't finding out about the straw requirement, you know, and all that. Coming to find out, I didn't realize the town did not have a database of all the town's, businesses that they could quickly.
Yeah.
And they
didn't
could
have
reach
that.
out.
We went and knocked on doors.
Yeah, like, so from the town side, and that's a whole different can of worms.
Right,
but
yeah, let's,
There should be a database where
but
you
we're
could,
not gonna solve it.
we're not gonna solve that here.
Thank you.
But I do think that the sign on the property and, you know, we were putting it on the Facebook and the social medias and the paper.
And I'm okay with mailing a butters.
Yeah, I think, yes.
Well, define a butters because
We need to-
planning in
Physically-
500 feet, this is saying.
Butters, a butt, you a butter.
Butter is different than 500 feet.
Right,
500 feet for one thing, butters is for another thing. So.
You're-
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Ian, you still have your hand up?
You
Yeah.
went out for a drink.
Yeah. And he didn't invite us.
No, I'm sorry. No, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I'm okay with that. All the changes. I just think, yeah, making some direct contact with anyone that has direct contact with the area that's gonna be developed is probably like the modus operandi. That would be good. Some limited canvassing. Yeah, I understand a mile is probably like huge. And definitely trying to do anything we can to keep costs down would also be good.
If
So
we-
I think all those comments are worthwhile to
But
consider.
posting somewhere in that vicinity and the abutters and having it put up on, sometimes I ask, how do you guys get your information out? And they do it through their tax stuff too. Like if there's something going on and everyone's paying something, there's always mail coming out of somewhere of the town building.
Yeah,
They add stuff in there. Other people use the utility company. Groton Utilities would be a great thing for the city side. I mean, there's other ways we can capture
right.
advertisement and you can get it out.
There's definitely by district mailing list. There has to be for different election purposes, taxing purposes. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the mailing, you're right, the post office will do that.
That's how you would.
You've got to put it all together for
Yeah, you do.
them. Yeah. You've
Well,
gotta
the
put it all-
post, no, I'm saying the town. If the town is putting this out, the town has everyone's address. They have to for districts.
Yeah, they
By
must get
district.
election stuff.
You get.
Well, you go, we get
different
taxes.
elections.
But you sign up to be, but you don't have to, you have to sign up to be a voter.
I didn't
Not
sign up to
everybody
get
does.
taxed. Let me
So if
just,
you're not, you're saying anybody that doesn't vote doesn't get.
they got
it.
they got my address to get taxed.
How many people are in each district roughly?
Right.
We did with the county.
But I think the abutted, the sign out, the abutted, the paper,
Directly abutted.
social media,
Okay.
and any.
News
What are we
alerts.
putting into here? Because I think all we're putting into here is a butters and.
Oh, it's a sign.
And what?
And
Sign. On the sign, maybe we can get into the details. and
Correct.
then
Yeah.
Really find stuff.
and you could put a
Code on it.
code on it, like they could get more
That's-
details.
Absolutely.
Well, like I said, I don't, if you want, I can bring what we're doing for the HDC, but it just says hearing being held on this property, this reason, here's the time, here's the date, here's the location.
The reality is the code is gonna be the way to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the other thing is the channel, we have our own channel for our town. It is, an advertisement up there stating that there's gonna be a public, whatever, it's another great way. People click that channel all the time. So there's a lot of ways we have.
I mean, without going crazy with an editing pen on this, the easiest way to address the concerns while still making it clear that these are what we'd like to see happen is I would take the word shall in here where it says town staff shall conduct proactive outreach actions. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th line down, kind of in the middle there.
You could say
Change it to should.
or as directed by the town council.
I would say should.
Should.
Should is not as obligatory as shall, but still indicate that best efforts need to be made. It's not an opt-out the way that may is. It's not discretionary, but it still allows flexibility. And I believe in the document I sent everyone, I took that language directly from OPM where it delineates the difference between should, shall, may,
Oh, yeah.
can. Yep. So that's,
Should is just so,
you should be doing that.
it's always wimpy.
It's always wimpy, but it's.
But there should be some shall, and the shall.
There should be, you said.
Yeah,
Should be
there should be shall. There shall be should.
Say we shall assign property
Yeah.
and shall directly notify butters.
Butters.
Those should be shared.
Town staff
Yeah.
should.
Should,
We should.
should.
Yeah.
Right.
I like,
Should.
I like.
All right. I will take the homework to,
Should, shall.
should shall shish.
Yeah.
I shall shish.
You should.
My analysis.
I always think should is a nicer way, like, you should
Yeah.
approve today.
Right is, this is the outreach we did. You didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. It said you should. Well, why didn't you? And if you can't justify that, then it, but I will chanelicize this. I will,
All
back
right.
to you.
So are we on to,
Hour 2 here, guys.
I still think the town council should weigh in on this. Make sure that the communication plan for the reuse of this property is adequate at the time. We don't know what the communication methods might be going on,
Sure.
in future years.
Maybe that's a good term.
Yeah, our chip can get directly pinged.
How do you want to say, it? When communication.
We'll approve communication. It's like,
There you go.
PC input. All right, so. I go back to the mayor because I don't want to be put onto a cow agenda and then a TC agenda to vote to approve the communication strategy. Can we consult with the manager or with the mayor?
I think this is important. No, I
So
don't
you
know.
want, because remember, you're putting it on a cow and then you're putting it on a TC. That's 2 months for a communication
They
strategy.
do it the same night. They've done it the
You-
same night.
You can't, right? If it's an agenda item, you have to go
Yeah.
from the cow to the TC. You Can't do an item the first night.
Right.
It shows up on an
I'm with
agenda.
you.
They
I
have,
mean, the town council is gonna approve.
if you suspend the rules and you have a
I
special,
mean, it hasn't been done, but it's not, I don't like that,
For-
because I don't think it's, I'm all about.
Especially when there's no-
Transparent part, I think, as a person who like follows meetings even before elected, I look online, and if I don't see something of interest, I don't watch, right? So when they suspend the rules, then you're kind of blindsided.
So suggestion, since this gets approved by town council, we put it in the way we want it. If they choose, we want to approve the communication plan, they can do so. I wouldn't necessarily propose it.
Weigh in by exception.
Yeah.
Used to call
weigh in by exception. Okay. And I can add language to that effect. Like if the town council wants, for whatever reason, this property that we're talking about, so particularly special, they want us to go above and beyond our ordinary communication strategy, they can weigh in. They can say it. They
Remember,
make
we're
sure,
at the beginning. We didn't get down to RFP process.
Right.
Yeah,
Jesus.
my lord. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if this property is so extra special and has so many extra communications, they can say, I want you to spend an extra $10,000 leafleting the greater southeastern Connecticut area.
It's not so special. It doesn't need.
And I don't want you
Yeah.
to waste time and resources.
Maybe it ends up on a referendum.
That's no problem. So it could.
Yeah.
Moving on.
All right.
Can I just do a quick backup? That our list of things we consider just because kind of covered it, but on here it says an appraisal. Is required by the title search. The environment.
Or is it,
Yeah,
That was in the list of things to be considered.
where's that? It was?
Yeah, we have that.
Not on the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, I
I didn't say which one is this?
Well,
Um,
and that's the kind of thing where it should be there, but we're not going to do it. until-
If an appraisal needs to be done,
Yeah, that's later.
yeah.
Well, it's definitely later in the process, but we got it. That's great. It was- I-
How long are you running this?
I thought you got-
How long are you running this for? Will we get tired?
Okay.
Oh, I'm done.
Some-
I just do it's up to you, you know?
Until we've had,
I don't see. it.
Sorry?
I just want
We're
to
2 hours in.
cover the idea that we're not forgetting about the appraisal.
Well, it's just-
thing.
It's just later.
But that's later.
Yeah.
That's the
Good
place to
late.
put it.
yeah, because I've
This
got
report
applications.
may not have at this time those things or something.
Okay,
so
I-
Rewrite the 5.
I'll rewrite the new
Okay,
5.
on to 7, new 6.
okay, I'm gonna ask, are we, is everyone okay with spending, say, maybe another half hour before we call this for tonight?
8 o'clock, you're saying.
8 o'clock.
Unless people want to end now, it's totally up to everybody.
I'm good with 8.
I'm good for a little break, but then I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'd like.
I would say let,
Cause it's 7:25 now, you wanna
yep,
break?
we'll stand in recess for 5 minutes, come back at 7:30.
Need to pause the recording.
Yep.
Oh.
I'm on it.
I will.
Hey, Ian, you still with us? Maybe you can hear us now. He's on mute.
Got muted.
That's fine.
Hello, yes, I am.
Hey, friend.
Hello.
Okay.
We just paid for some high quality water. It's Aquafina.
High quality H2O.
Pretty fresh from the fresh package.
You know,
All right,
made by a.
so
Yeah.
we're on new number 7 or
Number 6.
Old number 7.
old number 7, new number 6?
Wouldn't it be nice to get younger?
Did you tell Ian what time we're going to, or?
We're going till 8 o'clock.
Hear that, Ian?
I got it. Yep. Sounds good. Thank you.
Alrighty then, we are recording, right? Okay,
We are recording,
alrighty then.
but I'm not screen sharing. Let me change that. Alrighty. Taupe shall generate a draft report within 90 days after initial meeting when a property was requested to be reviewed. Report shall provide recommendations prior to be submitted. Shall be submitted for comment to planning and zoning, inlands, wetlands, conservation, Groton housing, economic development. Written response reports from each agency providing details that must be returned within 60 days to the code.
My edition does not have, York District Commissioner, should we not add them?
Are they?
I mean, it's just a way, like, so if, if there's not a historic property and that person's not been there, at least something's going to them so that they're in the loop, because they might have something about,
They're there ex officio.
right, so but at least they're getting the report, so they're kind of like knowing like what's going on in case they know something that we don't.
Mhm.
I didn't think of that until after.
Yeah, we can tag HDC in here. Here's my issue with this. And sorry, did you have something?
Do you think?
Oh, no, I was agreeing.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah. HDC, tag them in. My issue is, the way it reads right now is, so someone brings a property to us and we have 90 days to get out a report, that's 3 months. And then we kick it out to all these commissions and they've got another 2 months to talk about it. And it comes to the town council who has to put it on. I mean, according to our process, they have to have a public informational, then they have to have a public hearing, then it hits their cow, then it hits it, you're talking, it's gonna take 8 months. And I can agree that that is a cumbersome, long process if we are trying to flip properties.
So what do we recommend?
Groton flippers. You're starting the TV show now. I would recommend that you truncate the timeline, 90 days, from when a property first comes in. 45 to get a report out. And the thing is, during those 45 days, you're having meetings talking about all of the different elements. So all of those individuals who are liaisons from their committees, they should also be communicating with their committees,
And it shouldn't take 60 days.
and it shouldn't take 6
No,
It's the
no.
next meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Finish reporting.
We all, I know the
Right.
fees be twice a month, right?
And you guys are not looking for an action item. You're just saying, 'cause you're not voting. You're not even
It's
voting
just
on anything. You're just coming and
So-
saying.
And then
this is
they
what's
get
going
30
on.
days?
Make it 30 days.
Yeah.
Make it 30 days, right? So property comes into review, we say, okay, we think about it, we have a little dialogue. Then you go out and you do your thing as the liaisons, get back with your input, and someone's gonna be in charge of putting a single document together. Maybe you have one meeting to go over it as a group before you kick it out to the council.
Should we,
So 30 days, 45,
should we do 30 to 40 days?
I'll put it-
no more than 45 days.
Yeah, you gotta do 45 because of the unevenness of all of our.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
45.
that makes sense.
So that shaves it down in half.
So that's 45 days.
Yeah,
I like that.
so that's,
Efficiencies right off the bat.
Look at it, we're chopping things down,
Yeah.
taking it ex officio and cutting down time. Who would have thought?
I mean, ex officio.
All right,
Also another problem, right?
45. And then what about return within, what about that?
Right there. What's it?
What about the return in 60 days? What do we do with that?
You delete it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
What is that?
I want,
The 60 days. So pretty much this whole thing gets truncated to 45 days,
So the top one, the 90 goes away and the 60.
the 60.
Now.
And I can suggest some language like to the effect of what I
So the outreach to the commissions is in that 45 days.
is within that 45 days. It's expected that the reason you're on the
Yeah.
TOP is because you are in constant contact with your
Right.
your home.
Absolutely.
committee.
That
I'll call
makes
it home
sense.
committee,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Now, having said that, I agree with that, but then we got to change some of the other things. We're not going to get an assessment update. We're not going to get a title search. We're not gonna, I mean, some of these things need to be.
Well, here's the thing is, planning and zoning will be able to tell you, I can look up the planning and zoning right now. There's a map online. So find out what the applicable zoning is, finding out. if
Oh,
wetland-
that's already done.
Housing
already done.
potential, I don't. That's gonna be kind of like a qualitative discussion, right, from the housing authority, economic classifications of the property. I don't even know what that means. What does that even mean? What's an economic classification? You can tell me what the median income of that neighborhood is? You don't have the expertise to drill that down. And you're not going to have it within 45 days, for sure.
No, I mean, the stuff we already got in the database is, you know, what zone is it in? You know, are there any easements or limitations? All the stuff we got. That would be presented in the initial, you know, discussion.
What we're gonna get from planning and zoning is actually conservation development. If we think it matches it or
Right.
what the opinion of the board is.
Right, but you're not gonna get assessments, you're not gonna get appraisals.
Right.
And that's not appropriate for this section.
Right, that's all I was saying.
Okay,
Okay.
agreed.
I forgot, what are we on?
Moving on to,
So, what about A, B, and C? Hit those?
I wouldn't eliminate them. I'll probably come up with a tweak to it. Like, I still don't know what an economic classification is.
Well, the report should include, we already covered.
The report covers all this.
So
So this is giving you a time frame of how long you can get that report out.
the zoning gives you the economic, right? What's the zone for?
Well, that gives me the zoning, doesn't give me the economic, what is the economic
is it? Yeah.
classification? You know,
can anybody answer that?
because if we can't define that, it shouldn't be in here.
Take it out.
Yeah,
I agree.
Which one are we thinking of?
If I could interject real quick, but yeah, that language also kind of confused me. I'm not, the first time going through some of these drafts, the first time I came across it, it was in the unified document that, from, April 16th, the 4/16/2023 document. So I'm not sure who that came from, but it might have come from town staff. So,
That's what I was figuring. So I wonder
Yeah.
if we should find out from town staff exactly.
Well, I say we take it on, let's take it in the file. Look it up.
Is that like the opportunity zone? Or-
that goes back to planning and zoning. Planning and zoning should be able to tell us what the overlays are, the floating zones, the opportunity.
No,
zones.
no, the state taxing thing,
Oh, enterprise zone,
enterprise zone,
sure.
that's not a zoning.
It's
Enterprise.
it's a state zoning thing,
Right,
yeah.
the state, yeah,
That's,
that could be an
and
economic.
that's something that you get from your EDC, your economic development
Okay.
individual.
Yeah.
But you're right, so I wouldn't say economic classifications, I would, because that sounds very hinky to me and sounds like it's got some undertones that I don't like. I would say economic opportunities. Right, because that brings in, because it's also, it addresses
Okay.
everyone else's
So
SHPO.
I just Googled economic classifications just to kind of play around with it.
Mm.
It says low, middle to upper to middle to high income.
Yeah,
That's
don't-
what she did, that's what she said. She didn't like.
Yeah, I don't like those
They
undertones.
developed economics in transition and developing economic areas. What is the economic classification in the US? The US has a mixed economic exhibiting characteristics of a whole bunch of things,
That gets in-
such as mixture of economy. It really depends. So
Don't like it. It sounds very
Should we not-
classic.
yeah,
Don't
should
like
we-
it.
is that a word that we should be using?
No, I don't like classification. I think opportunity addresses
Yeah.
what the actual goal is, which is to say, we can get money from the state with this program, an enterprise zone. We can get money from the state from a SHPO grant. We can get money from the state. And that way it's more inclusive than just one individual, committee coming back.
'Cause it says-
Make sure everyone goes out and thinks, hey, can I get a brownfield grant for this? Can I get a this for this?
A says
Economic
current,
opportunity.
applicable zoning, wetland, housing potential, or economic classification, but I also think historic nature should be in that line, because we're defining
We
wetland.
got that above. We already had a list of things, so.
That's been the old 5, now 4, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Historic considerations.
Stating it here, right?
Considerations.
Yeah, we're-
Restated, we spoke. combined.
Well, we're restating zoning, we're restating wetland.
I
we're
shouldn't
restating-
do that.
Okay.
In fact, the thing says, the report should include, but not be limited, and that's what we had above.
The report should address the goals.
So this
Right.
is.
In which case,
Yeah.
This
This reference back to prior section.
in which case, I'm gonna go, and it says, I think it says right there, as derived from the public meeting described in section 6, and that's something different. Never mind. But to your point, what I would like to then go back and include in the former number 5 list, I would like there to be an evaluation in that report of economic opportunities in terms of grants and funds that could be applied to, right? Because that's the first thing that they're gonna ask is, oh, housing authority, you wanna take this over and do this? How are you gonna pay for it? So the housing authority would then say, well, we can use this kind of grant and we can use this kind of grant and there's this money available.
Is that the new number 5 or the old number 5? The old number 5. Okay, just making sure.
I don't like the word the economic classification, but it also, if it's worded differently, when I think of Groton Housing Authority, and Bob can correct me if I'm wrong. My thought of it is they can't do a lot of things without getting the land at cost or low to no cost.
Mm.
And then they are able to go and get all these grants. So one of the big people say, we want to get things on the tax rolls. But that is a great thing. We need that. We also need to protect the people who have been longstanding taxpayers in our town by providing them sustainable homes that are affordable for seniors and
If you want
elderly.
low and moderate income, you gotta give us.
You're right, correct. You gotta, people max out. Not everyone stays at the same financial thing that they are in their 40s and 50s, maybe. Yeah. Medical circumstances. We gotta protect to be a balanced community. We need things like the Groton Housing Authority to keep people that, fall a paycheck short or two, or just circumstances.
What point are you defending?
So what I'm trying to say is that,
According to our goals.
right. I think though, I'm just looking at this line here. I'm not saying it shouldn't be moved, but economic classification, I don't like that wording, but I think if it was changed in a different way, if it's already in our goals, I agree. I think that it is important that we do have economic drivers in the sense so that we're looking at ways to make sure that we're providing to all levels of our community. Because a lot of people, one person came up to me the other day at the grocery store and said, well, I don't think we should just give Groton Housing Authority for $1 or for free or whatever. We should get on the tax roll. And I'm like, but they're providing a service that's directly for the town. People in our community are going to be living there that need low income or moderate housing. It is a service. So we shouldn't be always thinking of just what may be on the tax rolls.
Right.
And I think that is, what is the economic driver in the sense of giving Groton Housing Authority property? Is that I might have a place to live if I ever need to. That is, as a resident, we need to have affordable places that people can level down into in our community, so they don't leave. We don't want to lose people.
So you want to add something that
I'm not sure if we have
speaks to economic and humanitarian or
the diverse social economic status of our community.
socioeconomic, yeah.
Like
So what's the statement be? Because we're gonna add it here, we're gonna add it to the statement above it.
Well, so I think, so-
Things that are.
I like some things different. I could be wrong.
Rich and I are talking about two different things, right? I'm talking about how are you gonna pay for what you want to do, that you're gonna recommend to the council, and she's saying, let's make sure we're considering more than just making a buck.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right.
Right.
And that's in the goals. Right, and in here, we should also, one of these points that I made is that we need to say, how does this address the goals in your report?
I'm only
How do
bringing
you-
it up again because under 7A, we were just talking about economic classification, but if we're gonna get rid of that whole line.
Yeah, I'm
anyway,
getting rid of that word.
I was just saying I don't like that wording. If it was gonna stay, I think it needs to be.
That's a nonsense word.
Okay.
Poof.
But it is important, economic classification, if it's used in that term, it's important,
Yes.
but it can go wayward.
Okay, so this part can go away.
So A is gone. What about B and C?
Timing doesn't go away.
I think A through C goes away.
The report should include.
A, what,
Yeah.
A
A through C all go away?
because here's the thing about A through C. A through C is a redundancy of all of those other things.
Right.
Whereas this one section should actually be a subset of reports, in my opinion. And I think probably 6 could be renumbered up under 4. But if we're talking about the timeline of the report, which is largely what 7, now 6 speaks to, is the timeline of the report. Keep it concise to only that, and we don't need to reiterate what needs to be in the report.
Understood. Okay.
So I'm gonna retitle this, for my own purposes, timeline of.
I would be happy if report on 6 just said it will reference the goal.
Reference goals. Yep, okay. So address
We'll
goals,
address the goal.
address the
Okay.
goals of the committee.
Let's just add that. Maybe the first one is a list of things that it's going to address, because it's a
Right.
list of things that are going to be addressed.
Right. I know in previous evaluations I've done for like grant writing and such, you have to pretty much say explicitly, this addresses the goal of the agency.
Yeah.
This addresses
Let's go.
goal number 1, this addresses goal number 2. So that's very reasonable and normal. And
Okay.
So the new number 7.
new number 7, consult with the town attorney. So speaking of the town attorney, he wrote in to us and gave us some comments, which I have comments about.
Can you comment on his comments?
I'd
Your
like-
comment on his comments?
I'd like to comment on his comments and my comments.
Is that on?
His comments are in the agenda packet. It starts on page 29. And
Thank
you'll
you.
see highlights, and it's in the Microsoft Office review kind of panel.
Right.
Here's your vinyl white.
What page?
Starts on 29, and it has, looks like this. So down here. Okay, so these are the attorney's comments. I think we should go through them quickly. Here are my comments, top to bottom. Fine, strike that. Why, what is meant by this town-owned property is not subject to property tax? Does it mean to exclude property that is acquired by tax foreclosure? Properties that are in foreclosure, he would like to strike that whole subject to tax foreclosure process. Was there a reason that was put in, or was that in the original?
It was put in so people didn't, it's correct if I'm wrong, if they were under the tax foreclosure process, it wasn't a town
But
property.
it's a different process. You got to get
Okay.
through that before the TOP could look at it.
Okay, so ignore him. Good with that.
Well, I don't know, if it's tax, does the town own it or not? If it's under tax foreclosure, the town does not.
Does not own it yet,
Yeah.
yet.
Doesn't own it yet,
So
So it doesn't apply.
but once we own it, we should be able to use this.
That's what I'm
we should be reviewing it.
All right, so we can strike that.
So should it just say once foreclosure is, if it-
Let's
once the
strike
foreclosure,
it, take the whole thing.
Yeah, don't even question.
Then you-
Yeah,
once the town owns it, then it's just gonna come to the front anyway.
correct.
Yeah.
All right,
Then
so
it's town property.
are we okay to strike that?
Strike the first comment.
Yep, strike the whole,
Let's break this down. He's correct. Take
Yep.
out the line, and it's not subject to tax foreclosure.
Right.
So he's correct. Actually, I'm not disagreeing with him. But it's
All right, we've addressed his next 2 comments.
Yeah.
the next, yep,
Next ones are,
16 persons. How will this notice work? We'll address that.
Just that,
A and B are identical. Yeah, we'll fix
just
it.
that.
Town-owned lands can be expensive title searches. Yep, we addressed that. Misplaced, I don't even know what that means. A second public hearing for Connecticut general statutes will be conducted later in the process regarding the sale of municipal property. I think we also addressed that.
He's saying we should have, is he saying we should have a?
He's saying that it's not in the right section of the document.
Can you reference the number, your
We are on page 30. I am on comment 6,
paragraph?
paragraph 8.
paragraph 8, comment number 6.
Okay.
It just says misplaced, but he doesn't say where he wants it.
All right, so should we maybe put that in like a little bracket?
So my thing is, I don't think that made it to this document.
Right, didn't make it to the next document.
Didn't make it to what we are currently
All
doing.
right, so it's not null and
So
void.
it's been addressed.
Yeah.
So it's been addressed.
We're pretty good. We could be attorneys. No, I'm just kidding.
Eh,
All right, RSC 7, what is the official action versus action? That's some lawyer stuff. Official action versus action.
What
Official
line are they
action.
referring to?
This
And-
is town property.
Number
Town,
one.
Number 1.
action to proceed with sale. She's-
It says take
Official action.
official action.
If final disposition is to dispose of a town-owned property, the following needs to take place.
Once the town just plain takes action, period.
Yeah, I mean, in the new document we're working off of, that's not in there,
No, but she's gone.
so it's gone.
Well,
Issues,
If the town council votes, that's it.
Mhm.
That's official.
That's it.
that's official. Yeah, I would say official action is voting and action is just, you're doing something, right? We're taking action to
Doing
make.
it for the record.
We're doing it for the record,
Yeah.
and whatever. Making a decision versus doing
Well,
something.
It's town council versus cow, maybe.
Someone's gonna have to give me a lecture on the difference between those two things, but.
So what are we doing with officials?
Official, it's not in the document we're currently adjudicating, so
Okay.
I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
No limit on members. That's
No,
been addressed because
you
we have
skip
the
number 8.
Brooke.
For the direction of the sign up for sale. City clerk would be.
Yep.
The answer is,
No.
but it's all be the same people.
One truck per person,
What
or one
conferences?
truck per property,
Per property, that's what he said. One truck per property.
question mark. The answer is
Right now.
no.
No, I mean, why? Because that it stretches things out. I mean, if you have one city, why couldn't you do two properties?
Well, right, so the way that the RFP process works, right, is you have your property reuse committee. And I think it is a valid question. What's the difference between a TOP and a property
And
reuse
yeah.
committee? Right, so the property reuse committee is going to be invoked. It could run 5 RFPs if it wanted to. Using RFP subcommittees that may have different people, may have some of the same, should have different people to help with the workload and also make sure there's plenty of input. So the PRUC is not one per property. It is one PRUC and then it administers multiple RFP.
But we're talking about the RFP
Subcommittees.
process.
Correct, and the PRUC is under the RFP process. It's not part of the TOP
Not part of
process.
the dope.
So that's more of a question of. Yes, it is in the document. To an extent. So the TOP's an established committee, and the PRUC is an established committee. To answer his question, the answer is no. It is not one PRUC per property, at least in my view.
I'm not on board with the proof as defined here anyway.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
it.
And I mean, that might be it. Do we want to just table the rest of his comments and?
I was thinking that because we haven't gotten through it.
Get there.
There's a lot of the
Right.
comments we've addressed just by our own discussion.
With my,
Have a defined stopping area that we're gonna be able to note, like, and say we finished on page
right,
this of edits. And
Yep.
so that way we,
Yep.
have a nice
all right, so,
first
we'll, all
filling, yeah.
right, so we've adjudicated everything right up there.
So we can just address them as we get to them in the document.
Alice? Same one or second one? Right. Okay. So consult town attorney, is that where we're going back to?
Yes.
Consult with the town attorney concerning any title complaints or any other possible legal reason. I think that we have spoken about this, and the answer is it's too early in the process to be doing this. Talking to the town attorney about,
I agree, talking to town attorney, there's already been a preliminary review of all town-owned properties on any legal constraints. Like I said, it ain't perfect, but at least, we can tell you, are there easements, are there limitations, et cetera. And then, you're right, I agree, then later
later do
in the
it,
process, now you spend some real money
right?
on on
So there's.
So I,
$400 an hour.
So there's no title search, no pay swing fire. Right, that
Correct.
comes out.
so I got a question using a specific example.
Yep.
On where this comes from later. So I think it's from ledger school, for example.
Yep.
Where it's deed specifically said it was given to the town for educational use only. But it's now being sold to become an apartment. So who handled that? How's that get handled when it comes to this?
Well, like-
When was that? I remember you mentioned it too. How long ago? was that deed?
40s or 50s when the land was given.
So there might be a time frame.
That's kind of ledger or SB both,
They don't go back.
Front of ledger, SC Butler was seized under eminent domain.
but it has the same kind of constriction on it. It can't be anything but a
School, right?
Then it's got to go through legal process first.
Well, then look where the Rod Mills. that-
But you're saying-
Sports.
You're saying that that has already been done? There's some kind of
We-
list where the town knows of all of its constraints?
So I mean, yes, let's call it high level constraints, yes.
High level constraints.
Think, there
And-
might be things buried in it, like I know properties have covenants that nobody looks at unless they dig into the records.
Here's what I'll say is the RTM has to approve any property sale over $10,000. Does the town attorney review that before it even gets voted out to the RTM? Because you would think,
A sale.
you would think the sale.
I would think a sale would,
Not an actual sale. So the RTM has to vote to allow you to go out to sale,
correct.
right? So you would assume that before it comes to the RTM, the town attorney is already checking that shit.
Right.
That's-
Okay.
So I don't think that this is
That's my
relevant.
point. What is this
Yeah.
coming up? I've seen it happen. I mean, the same thing almost happened to knowing school property. It's just, so there's been restricted deeds that almost got run over because somebody went, hey, wait. So how do we trigger this in the future? I mean, I think it's an important subject right now.
Well, I still think that the approach is a preliminary review, because some of those things are pretty easy to find. If they're hard to find, you're gonna spend a lot of money finding it. That's why I'm not saying it's wrong. But my view is you do a quick search, minimum dollars,
Mm.
find out, then later on, you revalidate it with a deep dive into the record.
Well, I found the restriction with the, like, on the town hall.
That's-
It was pretty easy.
No, that's my point. That first level,
So I do think that it is important moving forward that you shouldn't have to dig for these things. And if we own them, we should know exactly what they are. There should be a tracking system that's already in place so that we don't have to do this, down the road. If I was to pass and leave something for whatever,
we have one.
right. And the process of digging up the other ones that are there, there should be a group that's kind of looking to see what's left. I mean, it is important if someone leaves something for a specific use to honor.
So for the purposes of this paragraph, what do we want the town attorney to do at this point in the process? Let's do a high level gut check.
Is that something that our staff can't do though? If we
The-
already have
The preliminary review has already been done, I would
Right.
say.
so would it be
We've
just
done that with the town staff over the last 2 years. It took a
consult
lot.
with town staff about known constraints?
Yes,
Because again, that thing can't be, this has to happen before the sale.
I think well, I
And
think
if it's
there's
a showstopper,
then 2 levels. The showstoppers are gonna pop up pretty early, 80-90% of the time.
right, people are gonna know.
Like that property that you bring up, this is not a big piece of parcel, but it's a park. It's one of actually our only really town-owned greens, which
Yeah,
is kind of interesting in Old Mystic. That was given from the property that used to be a nursing home, I believe, across the
Right.
street. That's no longer there. It was an old wooden nursing home. And they donated that piece of land. Now, I would love to know, we just found out that we owned it again. Did anyone do a high level search on that to find out what it was deeded and how it was left?
Yeah,
how did
I'm
we,
trying to remember. I thought I sent you a note.
how did we find out that we owned it again?
Someone was
Neighbor,
mowing it. Neighbors
so
were
the
mowing it.
neighbors were mowing it.
Mhm.
And a certain neighbor was asked when he was gonna start mowing it, because he wasn't mowing it. And
He said, that's not mine.
the said neighbor said, well, that's kind of odd, because I think it's town owned, and said neighbor may have approached the town, and
Gotcha.
the town's response, we don't own it, and then the neighbor sent a picture of the GIS saying town of Groton, response was new.
It's in the GIS database. It's in the database for the town-owned property.
So,
And
But does it
restrictions are in
say
there.
if you Want to sell it off? It's left to be
Yes.
logged?
As much as we
It's in the
could
property.
determine, there's
got
a
2
whole thing
minutes.
about
Yeah.
limitations, easements,
where's our timer?
all kinds of restrictions in a column there.
Game clock.
We've been through a 45-day review. It's been to the different departments. We're ready to give a report to the council. What is this number 7 now?
This number says
Is consult
with town staff about
within that 45 days.
within that
I
45
would,
days.
I would say yes.
High level
Consult with the
preliminary,
Town staff
yep, town staff,
concerning any title constraints, legal,
preliminary,
Yeah.
preliminary review of any
the town staff shall.
within 31 days,
And,
within 45 days.
and the last 2 sentences come out.
Yep. Change
Right.
that second town attorney to town staff because we want it for the record. And then the last sentence comes.
There's no appraisal.
No
So this
appraisal.
process shall include and the other gone.
Right.
Okay.
Alright,
that's-
Do I have a
think that's it for
consensus
today.
that we stop for tonight?
And that's
Yep.
within the 45
the
days.
party's just starting.
I
Move to adjourn?
Second. Wait.
Okay. No, no.
Where do we end up? We have to-
Oh, then let's leave on the record where we're ending and what.
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna, that's what I was getting at.
On the old,
We will start on the old number 9. So we finished,
I will note
completed.
if not,
After all reports.
From the last meeting,
I
that'll
was-
have to be done next time, or we can do a vote now. The minutes from the last meeting, and they are not accessible to the public until we vote to approve them.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Okay.
What's that?
There were notes on here, you need them.
Oh, I'm gonna need that. I didn't know which copy I gave you.
to approve the minutes has been motioned, and I've seconded it.
All in favor?
Any comments?
Aye.
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 Minutes passed. And that in,
Motion to adjourn.
Just to adjourn.
And
hold on.
motion to adjourn, or, I'm sorry, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Tricia, Alzad, seconded.
Lauren, good job.
That's right.
Yes, thank you.
Despite some of your outbursts.
Her outbursts were the spikes. of-
Did we complete the vote to adjourn?
Yeah.
Yes. Without objection, we're adjourned.
Okay. Meeting's now ended.
Oh,
All right,
Stop recording.
now let's 86
All right,
this thing.
hold on.
You got
Good
that?
night, everyone.
All right, stop share.
Ladies and gentlemen.